Um, hey Jana, hey Eli, hey thanks, hey on Warren. Um, yeah, so the Adam Conover, Tim Pool thing, I heard that went good for the home team. Probably react to that as well. But today we're gonna be reacting to Charlie Kirk versus Cambridge. Will you be on TikTok too? Yeah, shortly. But I think I'm only gonna put the video on YouTube and Twitch. Probably. Okay. Talk. Yeah, it's not gonna be a long pregame today. I'm obviously 2 hours late, 2.5 hours late. But, um, oh, probably before we go live. Uh, Eli said hi. Wait, is that not what you wanted? Eli said hi. She said hi, but the mic didn't pick her up. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. Hey, Arflu. I think we're ready to go on TikTok. Oh, careful, they can see. Day going. It's going well so far. This is fine. Hey, Neely. Hey, Ice Cold. Hey, Epic. Hey, Starscream. Hey, Shui. Connected now. Quick access. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hey, Grammar. Hey, Jalen. Hey, Ginger. Hey, Adela. Packing for my trip to DR. My flight leaves at 6. 6? Oof. Your flight leaves at 6, so you know when you have to wake up? You may as well just not sleep. Like counter, little Marco. Thank you for the reminders. Like counter. Hey, Steph. Thank you for hand hearts. Hey, Kai. I'm not sleeping at all. We leave at 3 a.m. I can finally go live again. Oh, I didn't even know you could. Did you get banned? Hey, Quinn. All right, y'all. It's gonna be a quick live today. We're just gonna react to Charlie Kirk versus Cambridge. Every clip I've seen has been Charlie getting absolutely annihilated, and I think we all need a little bit of that right now. Why was the goal 1 rose? At the auto goal, what's happening? Sorry, everybody. Wait, on that. At the live call. Thank you, Shui. Okay, there we go. All right, we're gonna get started very, very soon. Thank you for the heartmies.
Windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously.
Okay. All right, y'all gotta let me know if the volume's good. Starts. Like you should be able to hear me slightly louder than the video. I think that would be the goal.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Our speaker tonight is Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative commentator. He's founder and CEO of...
What are you thinking about volume? 27 minutes starts the debates. Oh, let's go. We get to skip Cambridge, like Massachusetts? No, like in England. Hey, Neely. Wait, are you sure? 27? Oh, you're right. Yeah, they do an interview. I don't want to see the... Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Quinn. That is a huge... I think you saved the night. Oh, to the lovely couple on the other side of the screen. Hi, Rome. Can I still come up for a moment at some point for the initiative? Yes, Kai, absolutely. Can't believe Charlie Kirk thought this would be a good idea. I guess he gets paid either way. Third live, first ban so far, solid 33% ban rate. Oof. Yeah, so like him getting paid, the thing is, if he gets paid, but it's a one-time thing, right? It's gonna have, if enough people watch this and are like, oh wait, he was never actually smart. He just always has a crowd of small children cheering him on. Then maybe he might lose numbers. Number of creators mispronouncing Cambridge today was sad. Wait, is it not Cambridge? Am I pronouncing it right? Cambridge? Am I one of the creators? Hey, Prince, you're correct. Cambridge. Okay, cool. How are people pronouncing it? I didn't even know Cambridge was like a mispronounceable word. They say Cambridge. Oh, Cam like ham. Cambridge. Okay, I see. I don't know. I've never heard Cambridge before in my life. Dean said Cambridge, but then said it right later. Oh, okay. I can't remember if I said hi, Prince, but hi, Prince. Hey, ASG. Hey, Lisa. Hey, James. Probably got ran over. Hey, Patty. Yeah, I should change this. Hold on. Funny. All right, what should we put? What should it be? I like this, but Mac doesn't find it funny. How is Mac? She's good. Like, there's a Trump supporter. Like, Sid Mac says hi. Yeah, Dean said it that just won. Okay, get Mac her ice cream. Technically, Mac got her own ice cream while I was mowing the lawn. Tell her hello. Lisa says hi. Okay. Happy Memorial Day. Can they get me ice cream, please? Has Mac moved in? Not yet. And by not yet, I mean we have not planned that at all. And it will probably be a long time. And please don't rush us. That hair. Yeah, I didn't do this was post mow lawn but no shower hair. That's what this melted hair. Got the Superman swoop going. Should I do this more often? Post Mulan. It's like the end credit scene of Mulan. Okay, what are we doing? Reacting to the Cambridge Union roast of Charlie Kirk. Roll the hair. The other one. Or does that too if I sweat? Cat is too engaging. Yes, okay. Let me know if the volume's good.
Is that a certain melanin content gets you certain points.
Getting closer to the pompadour.
Gets you demerits.
Great. We're going to move now.
Okay. Am I stand here?
Yeah,
okay, great.
at the start.
Thank you.
Everyone good with the volume? So I might have to not have been able to see that. Must be deaf. I can raise it a little bit. Isn't this one of the un-F America apologists? No, actually, I'm not on the tour anymore. There are people that are still on the tour that were not called out because the dude that you're obsessed with only called out people he doesn't like. Hope that helps. Oh my god, I watched this earlier. It's hilarious watching Kirk go against people smarter than him. He always goes against people smarter than him. It's just he doesn't have his backup boys now. Okay, here we go.
Okay, thank you. Can we settle down, please? We're going to move on to our questions. Our first question is from Zenosha Zubair from Sydney, Sussex. Come up and ask a question. Remember, you have the right of response.
I have quite a simple question for you. Now, I know you've debated Dean Withers on Jubilee before. I was wondering why you now refuse to engage with further debate with him.
Wait, hold on. First of all, he's coming on my show this summer, and let me get this straight. I flew 5,000 miles across the world to have you ask why I'm not going to debate a left-wing YouTuber?
Well, I mean, he continuously tries to get your...
Can we talk about that face? What is he doing? Why is he looking at her like that? Hello? Also, I've seen this. Dean debunks this. What he's about to say.
Attention at your campus.
Yeah, right. Yeah, again,
and you just ignore him.
I've debated him twice in the last calendar year. He's coming on my show this summer. Let me be clear. I came to Cambridge to have you ask me that.
Yeah. So Dean went over the fact that he didn't look twice. He didn't debate him twice in the last calendar year. He debated him once for 30 seconds or whatever it was. He's so angry they made this about
When you
Dean.
talk about freedom, I'm just using my freedom of speech to ask you a simple question. You seem to be dodging it for some reason.
No, I've debated him twice in the last year, and he's coming on this summer for a long-form discussion. But is this what I can expect?
Yeah, he's making videos about you avoiding him on your campus debates.
Right. So let me tell you how this works. I do a campus event like at Texas A&M University. I rent it out. I'm there for 3 hours. He shows up demanding to come up to the mic immediately, cutting in line of other students. It's not Joe Biden's America anymore where you can just cut in line and get whatever you want.
He didn't cut in line of other students, by the way. At Texas A&M, he actually waited. It was him. There was a few people that were waiting. Him, Simple Black Theory. I know this because I was there. But they kept moving the line. Like whenever Dean would get close, they'd be like, "Oh, well, we're taking people from this line now." He waited. He waited in line.
Want. So therefore, I say, "Excuse me, Dean, we'll talk another time." He makes this YouTube video as if I'm scared to debate him, even though I debated him twice in the last year. Does that sufficiently answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next question is from James Loveridge from Anglo-Ruskin University.
So, firstly, thank you for coming here, Charlie. It's nice to meet you. So my question is, I am a Conservative, and I did back Trump in 2024, but I'm troubled that the GOP refuses to hold him accountable for his personal and legal failings. And how can we claim to stand for moral values and the Constitution while excusing behaviour that we condemn from the left? Isn't it the hypocrisy undermining our credibility, especially with the next generation?
What specifically do you have issue with?
Well, the countless things he's done.
The what?
Stormy Daniels. You know, the bus interview that he put down to locker room talk. You know, his multiple legal values, filings.
And what would you like to see them do? And you voted for this man. So,
no, I can't vote for him.
Whatever, you said you voted, or whatever, I don't know. Plenty of Americans, I don't know, you said you supported him, so...
Yeah.
Is that correct? Maybe I'm putting
no, that's
you
correct.
supported him, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I supported some of his policies and him, but a lot of Conservatives, I'm not saying you personally, but a lot of Conservatives refuse to call him out or critique him on anything. And will ignore that straight away.
I mean, I critique him. He's a friend of mine. I might critique him. I don't think Canada should be the 51st state. We have enough liberals in America.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Critique, dude.
Our next question is from Kai Bevan at Trinity Hall.
Right, so thank you for coming, Charlie. My question to you, I mean, I'm a medical student, and so I'm going to throw out the big A word. I know you get asked about it a lot, but I want to hear from you what your opinion is on abortion.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically.
This one's good, y'all. I've seen this one.
Why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because what is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
What is it that gives human being this moral worth?
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that. I can imagine it because it is a human being because it has a soul.
And what is this soul? Where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. I mean, again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. I mean, it's true. I mean, every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, is that every human being is more than just matter, it's more than just a clump of cells, but it also has an invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine, so, I mean, can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. The founders were explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one, of at least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So I mean, this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at birth, conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these 2 cells fuse.
No,
right?
DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
A DNA, no, that's not true. The DNA coding of the zygote. Hold on, time out.
Let me finish.
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Charlie,
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
You have to let me speak. You have to
answer it, yes or no. Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Define a unique marker.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis? Can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
Oh, so it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these two cells joining, right? But these two cells were created, the mother cells were created long before, they were created when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish, the only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse. Now this idea that means that for some reason suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these two cells who had half the DNA, but suddenly there's
Correct, yes, something magical happens at that.
It's not magical, Charlie, we know about this.
The moment he said something magical, I think he lost the argument. When we're talking about magic in a debate about policy and philosophy, what are we doing here?
Well, hold on.
Charlie,
Time out. Hold on.
Charlie, I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life development outside of the womb.
We call it the miracle of life because, yes, it's something beautiful, the ability to form a new...
magical.
It's not... You say magical as in, oh, it's beautiful, it's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA, though, than the mother? Like,
yes,
wait, someone in chat said Charlie Kirk thought this school must have been Hogwarts.
From the father.
Okay, yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the two. And so when did your life begin?
Okay, so
when did your life begin?
I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up, so you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out, and you can find that this is who the person's mother is, and you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other, and so those genes interact, and that's what gives rise to you, right? But there's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing, that does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to score points. I'm trying to understand.
By what moral standard do you believe that?
I believe that if
Health insurance issued at conception. True.
If an individual is capable of suffering, then it's wrong. Now, can I explain my opinion on abortion, just so you can understand? I would agree, as many reasonable people would, that at 9 months, it's unreasonable to expect someone to get an abortion, right? Unless you have some extreme circumstances. But for an elective abortion seems a bit radical to me. But it also seems radical to say that a woman who has just, the cells have just fused, to deny her of an abortion also seems wrong to me. Because that zygote is not capable of suffering, as far as we know.
So by what moral standard? Is that just your opinion? Where did you get that moral standard from?
Because suffering is a bad thing. We all know suffering is a bad thing. That's an objective fact, right?
Well, hold on. So you do believe in objective morality?
I believe.
What? Notice what Charlie did there. I noticed it the first time I watched it. His interlocutor said, suffering is an objective bad thing. And Charlie said, oh, so you believe in objective morality. That's not what he said.
I believe that suffering is an objectively negative
So if you can't feel it, is it okay?
What do you mean if you can't?
You can't feel the pain, is it okay to inflict the pain?
In the sense that if no one's suffering from it, if you have a scenario where nobody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. Something is only a moral question if it affects someone's well-being.
So let me just make sure I understand this correctly. That if it doesn't affect their well-being, so dementia patients that don't know who they are or where they're from, can we execute dementia patients because they're confused about their well-being?
Can you imagine a scenario?
Or Alzheimer's patients.
Charlie,
Alzheimer's patients don't really know much about anything. Can we schedule them for execution because they can't technically suffer?
No, respond. So can you imagine a scenario where we lived in a society where we killed people when they underwent...
Does pain necessarily have to be felt for it to be considered pain? I agree with Ginger. I'd argue it's not pain if no one feels it. Like pain, so pain doesn't need to be the pain of the fetus. It could be pain of other people as well, right? This is the reason why it wouldn't be okay. It wouldn't be okay to unalive someone else's fetus, right? Because that's causing them pain. There's also the reason why it wouldn't be okay to unalive an Alzheimer's patient because their family would experience pain. But when when a mother or a potential mother rather chooses to abort a fetus, there's no pain is happening to anyone.
When they suffered from dementia, were incapable of suffering, and we killed them, right? It's not a scenario that involves an absence of suffering. There's still suffering involved. Imagine you grow up thinking, my dad could be killed at any moment because he's going to get dementia. Imagine living your life thinking...
Patty, that's true. In most abortions, there is pain. I will take that back. You're right, but obviously they're electing to go through that pain.
I could get dementia and suddenly I'd be killed by my state.
Imagine a world where you slaughter 1 million babies every year in America.
Charlie, it's not slaughter. That's the problem.
Hold on. It's a forcible removal from the umbilical cord of another human life. Again, we have clarity but not agreement. Biologically, you know that your entire coding began at conception. Your coding,
that's
your uniqueness.
That's what I'm denying. I disagree with that.
Okay, when those two cells fused together, to use your terminology, yes, that is where the process of human...
accepted terminology.
In the interest of time, can we bring this question to a close?
The process of human development objectively begins at that moment. Therefore, those human beings are deserving of human rights. We keep going, or do you want to...
I think that's... Yeah, you can finish.
The process of development begins from the moment the sperm is being generated in the father, the moment the eggs are being generated in the mother. To say that suddenly the moral worth switches on when they fuse doesn't make any sense. That's just a point you...
It makes perfect sense, because that is when your journey as a human being, when the sperm and egg were separate, you were not yet a fused human being. You were not created uniquely.
DNA existed.
An image.
Your DNA existed. I thought...
Well, no, the parts of your DNA existed. Your DNA did not exist. It's like saying that we have a full car just because we have all the parts. It was not yet put together until conception happens and the zygote was formed. Thank you. I think we have to
move on to the next question.
You know, that's an interesting point that I feel. Jack, you know what? I might bring you up, actually. Give me 1 second. That's an interesting point, but I don't know that it necessarily proves his point. So it's like, there's parts here to make a car, there's parts here to make a car. We put the parts together. It's still not a car. It is not a car. So I'm not really sure why he made that point. What country in the world has a gold standard in abortion policy? I am actually not sure. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna do an impromptu. Maybe this guy can articulate Charlie's position better. Impromptu guest. Hi, welcome out.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. I find this debate actually quite fascinating. The two of them have valid arguments. I wouldn't say one has a more valid argument than the other. They're opinions. You know, you're not going to change someone who's pro-life versus someone who's pro-choice. They're going to stay the same, and they all have valid arguments. I mean, for you to sit there and everything Charlie says are magical, well, he lost all credibility. He didn't lose credibility. It's a valid argument.
You think using magic in your argument is a valid way to?
No, I'm saying that if he had 1,000 words and you single out magical, therefore he's really doesn't know what he's talking about, it's a little disingenuous.
Okay, so which part of his argument do you think was valid?
About it being life, about it not being anything before 23 chromosomes joined with 23 other chromosomes to make 46 that are a human being. Whether I agree with that or not, that's a valid view.
Well, but that's not the question when we talk about abortion. The question is, why does that fetus, why does that life, why does it get moral worth the same as the woman, the fully grown human woman? Like, what gives it moral worth? And his answer was magic. Whereas
no, that's again very disingenuous. No, he said many, many, many things, and yes, he did use the word magical. But to discount everything he said for that one word, I think is silly.
Okay, so what gives? Then you tell me what gives the combination of those chromosomes. What gives that moral worth?
Because about half of the population, at least, believes it does.
Okay, so now that's not a logical argument. You're appealing.
Doesn't make the wrong. It's an opinion. Okay, you're not going to convince people that think abortion is bad. You're not going to convince people that the death penalty is bad.
I'm not. No. I agree with you. This is a philosophical question for sure. Yeah. I agree.
But it's not going to be solved.
But I'm saying most people, and it sounds like Charlie is one of them, and it sounds like you also might be one of them. Your reason for believing that is not grounded in any kind of logic, because I asked you what is the reason that we're granting moral value to this fetus, and your reason was, well, because half the population thinks that.
No,
That-
no. False conclusion.
That's not what you said.
No, it's not what I said. What I'm trying to say is that this issue is not a black and white issue, yes and no issue. People have their beliefs. I happen to strongly support pro-choice. To call it healthcare, I think is a stretch. To use it as a form of birth control, I think is a stretch.
Nobody does
I
that.
think that anybody,
That second thing you just said
nobody
does not
that.
happen.
No one's had 2 or 3 abortions that weren't raped.
That
Just
may
a
be the
question.
case. I don't know what percentage of the population has had 2 or 3 abortions
Neither do
outside
I.
of the context of rape. But even in those cases, I need you to understand that no woman is saying, "All right, let's do this," and when I conceive, let's get an abortion. That's not a person that exists on this planet.
Well, I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure how you can do that, being that you're not a woman. But I'm telling you.
Have you
that
met a
this is-
woman in your life or online? Have you met a single woman
Yep.
that has said, I am going to engage in sexual intercourse with the intention
Yep.
of having an abortion"?
No, I've met quite a few women, many who have had abortions. But when you have sex, that is indeed one of the side effects of having sex. And there are many, many women that I have seen, screaming on TV, "It's my body," having a vagina on the head. And you're right, it's your body, but you make a conscious choice, and you know that every time you have sex, there's a potential of being pregnant. And,
Jack, do you know what
and-
happens when a woman has an abortion?
Someone else came on there. That's
Well,
good.
I figured we should bring up
I
a
did.
woman to
Sure,
speak on the
please
issue.
do.
Yeah,
Please do.
have you obviously have not had an abortion, so
No,
do
my
you know
wife
how it
did long
feels to
before she
have
met
one?
me. Say that again?
Do you know how it feels to have an abortion?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so let me tell you something. It's painful. Okay,
I've
Not
witnessed
just
some. I've been
physically?
involved in some.
hold it. Can I finish, please?
Sure.
Physically painful. Like, no matter whether it's done in a doctor's office or if you have to take the pill to do it, it sucks. Okay? No woman is choosing that as a form of birth control, let alone you have to take time off work, let alone, God forbid, there's complications. If they leave tissue behind, that could give you sepsis. You have to go back for follow-up appointments. They have to do more scans. And then sometimes when they do the birth control pill, the abortion pill, then they still have to do a DNC because all the tissue wasn't expelled.
You're
Dude,
absolutely right.
nobody is using this for birth control. That's insane.
I'm not saying
You did say
nobody's
that.
using it for birth control. I disagree. And it's the same thing of using it for healthcare. Okay.
You just said it was women were using it for birth control.
I'm saying
and
that
really-
there are many women that have had 2 or 3 abortions that were not raped, that was not incest. That's their choice. I understand it's their choice. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that this argument is not going to be solved.
Do you know the failure rate for birth control?
About 97%, 98%, depending on what it is.
No, actually.
Okay.
Most of them, very few of them are that high. So,
Wait, you mean the
There are-
success rate, Neely?
So the oral
No, well, the failure
contraceptive's
rate.
not above
Oh, well,
97%.
that's his
Well,
success rate,
he
yes.
he answered success rate.
Yeah,
You're
sorry,
incorrect.
thank you. Huh?
Most birth control pills aren't above 97%. I think you're incorrect.
No. Hold on just a second. Do you also know there are medications you can take, like antibiotics and stuff, that will make your birth control stop working? And
That's true.
you're not always told that by the pharmacist?
Absolutely. Well, yep.
Okay,
And
so
again,
there's
I'm
some
not
reasons.
saying there's not accidental pregnancies. I'm saying that this issue is never, the rest of my life, the rest of your life, ever going to come down to people saying, yes, it's absolutely good. No, it's absolutely terrible. Okay, they're not going to change their mind. They're not.
But you know what's making them help form that decision?
No, I don't.
People like you going out and talking about how women are just having abortions
I don't go out
because
and
they're
talk about
irresponsible.
women like that. Yeah, I think you missed my first line. My wife had an abortion long before she met me.
Okay, you still claimed that women use it as birth control.
No, I'm claiming that many women have had more than one abortion. That's what I'm claiming.
But the
No,
words you
wait. No,
said-
I have to stop you right there because that's not the first thing you said. You said women use it as a birth control. So are you changing your position?
I said if they're using it as birth control.
didn't
Not
say
changing my
that.
views, okay? I'm saying if they use it as birth control, I don't think that's what anybody would agree that is appropriate. I think there's many, many instances where abortion is the proper alternative. I also think there are other motivations for women to get abortions, and that's just a belief. And what I'm saying to you, I am absolutely pro-choice, but don't make it something more than it is or isn't. Don't try to prove that it's not a life. You're not going to win that argument. There's
It's
people that believe it's a life.
well that's not so. Just to come back to the reason you came up in the first place, that's not the argument that the student's making, and that's also not the argument that I'm making. We're not saying that it's not a life. The question becomes at that point, whenever we determine the life starts, the question becomes what grants that life moral consideration. And Charlie Kirk's answer was magic.
I know you're going to keep on that word. That was not
That's
Charlie
what, and
Kirk's
your
answer.
answer. What was your answer when I asked you?
That was
What gives?
not Charlie Kirk's answer.
Do you want me to roll it
Okay,
back?
it's disingenuous.
Wait. We
don't
can
accept
just
the
roll it
word
back. Hold on.
magic.
We're at 40. Chat. We're at 40 minutes and 3 seconds. Okay. We're gonna roll back.
Again, we have clarity but not agreement. I am umbilical here in America.
Thinking I could no response.
Alzheimer's patient is
Well-being. Then yes, in fact, right? That's that at 9 months.
that.
Here we go.
Whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing. That does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual.
Oh, sorry. I didn't go back far enough.
So when did your life begin?
Okay, so
When did your life begin?
life. I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell.
If I could just comment for one sentence.
Sure.
What I started with was both of those individuals have a passion about what they're saying, and it's not for me to decide the guy in the white shirt's wrong or the Charlie Kirk is wrong. And I certainly wouldn't base it on one word that they're arguing about. They're not going to change their opinions. Both sides have a valid opinion.
But that's not, okay. So it's not basing it on just that one word. It's that one word is the crux of his argument. He has no other argument. If you can give me the rest of his argument for why we afford moral worth to a fetus,
because he believes it's a life. Period.
That's not enough of a reason, right?
Says who?
Well, if we just follow the logical syllogism that the student put in front of him, well, it doesn't become the life that we do grant moral worth until it develops. It needs so many things to get there, and for the same reason, when he's describing that, this is not a unique code of DNA. This is the combination of the mother's DNA and the father's DNA. So do we start the arbitrary line at conception? Do we start
It's a new life. That's all. I can say it's a new life and still believe in pro-choice.
Why is it relevant that it's a new life? That's the question that Charlie Kirk answered with magic. That's the problem. Who cares? That's the issue.
I know you don't think you sound that's brilliant, but I really think it's being disingenuous because you're discounting 99% of his argument. And his argument is, my whole point is,
I asked you what his argument was. The problem is his argument stops one step short. So his argument is that abortions are immoral because a fetus is a life, right?
Sure.
So that's his argument. That part is fine. So it's he needs to flesh out the rest of it. Why does a fetus being a life grant it moral worth? That part he cannot flesh out. And when pushed on it, he answered with magic. That's the problem.
We'll keep with the magic, and you can believe that, but I'm telling you, you haven't swayed one person on either side. And this debate hasn't swayed one person on either side.
Jack, can I point something out to you?
Sure.
Okay, so you are up here claiming you're pro-choice, correct?
Yep.
Yet you are also at the same time spreading the idea that women are using abortion for birth control. And you also said, I need to ask you what you meant by this, but the idea that abortion is healthcare, you said you didn't believe that either, correct?
I'd be happy to elaborate on that issue.
Please, because I need to know what that means.
Because health care encompasses a great variety of things. And what I have trouble with is if a woman is having a miscarriage, the total falsities that has been bantered about that. I have been a nurse for 45 years, spent them in emergency departments in New York City, Boston, outside of Boston. I have never once in my entire career ever seen a woman who had a question of her life being in danger or a question that she was having having a miscarriage was denied the procedure. There have been many
Because
DNUs
Roe
done
v.
in
Wade was
emergency
in
departments.
effect, dude.
No, long after Roe v. Wade wasn't in effect.
Long
Okay.
after 2022?
I'm telling you
That was 2 years ago, 3
that
years
there's
ago.
not one doctor that has refused medical intervention based on worrying about being convicted.
Okay, maybe
Wait,
not in
whoa,
your-
hold on.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think you're wrong. You're saying there's not one doctor since the overturn of Roe v. Wade that has
I go all the way back to the Boston doctor that first got charged. What was his name? Devlin? I can't remember his last name. That started this whole thing in the 70s before Roe v. Wade.
okay,
He
so
was charged. when he
but
was a
after what we
detaining-
all right. So this is what we know, right? Since Roe v. Wade, we have multiple states. Georgia's a great example, where OBGYNs and other healthcare providers for anything related to abortion are leaving the state to avoid any kind of prosecution, any kind of losing their license, anything like that. We're getting situations where there are, Texas is another one, where there are women's healthcare deserts. And I can pull that up for you. I got a map. I got a map of the maternal healthcare deserts. We have not only that, there are women that are currently dying because of lack of intervention or lack of steadfast intervention. So we have, remind me her name. There was Nevaeh Crane, but there was from Georgia. Someone remind me the woman's name from Georgia. I'm so sorry. The fact that there's so many is what's so horrifying. We'll get to Adriana Smith for sure. Nevaeh Crane. Amber Thurman, yes. We have Amber Thurman, who had doctors intervened when she initially was developing sepsis, she would still be alive today. But because they had to go through the Georgia process that was included in the trigger law once the Roe v. Wade was overturned, she died.
Okay,
The same situation with Nevaeh Crane, and right now, there is a corpse acting as a birthing pod. Adriana Smith, I don't know if you've heard of her, is being kept alive. She is not alive. She is brain dead.
That's happened many times before over the years, so it's not unique.
Give us
But
one
I want to address
example.
your sepsis question.
One
Can I-
example, Jack.
Can I just address the sepsis question? If there was anybody,
Go ahead, ask the question.
if there was anybody that was ruling out for sepsis, and any doctor, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, staff nurse that ever thought this woman could become septic and they did nothing, they're the ones that should lose their license.
Nope.
Having nothing to do with abortion.
Jack,
Sepsis
so
is
Jack.
treated very, very seriously. Okay, and they don't let women die of sepsis because
Jack,
of the
go
abortion
Google
laws.
Amber Thurman.
And again,
Don't let. This
No,
is
why
not
are you
funny.
laughing? If you don't
Why
know,
is
you
this
could
funny?
say
I'm not
I've never
laughing.
heard of her. You could say I've never heard of her. But
I've heard of all the names, but what I haven't heard of, and I'll bet you haven't either, is you haven't read the whole story. or
Yes,
you're
we
picking
have.
we have
apart the
on
story.
live.
You obviously
Okay,
have not.
then that doctor,
Starscream, it's okay. You don't have to. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your sentence.
what do you mean? Me? That wasn't nice.
It was a mod. You're fine. Go ahead. Well, you're not fine, but just
I
go
don't
ahead.
know where I was.
You said
But
that
I'm
doctor.
telling you,
You were telling us
any
that what happened
doctor
to Amber
that
Thurman didn't
caused
happen.
that woman's to unalive, which I get a kick out of TikTok controlling your guys' voices, is subject to malpractice, pure and simple.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not with the new laws since Roe v. Wade. That's what you're not understanding. Since the overturn of Roe v.
I
Wade.
disagree with you completely.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I
And
understand that you. I understand that you. If you think magic is a good argument, then I get why you would disagree with reality.
Exactly.
You have the day you deserve. Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Neely.
Yeah, man, that's disgusting. He's gonna claim he's pro-choice and do shit like that. By the way, for the audience out there, failure rate of male condom is 18%. Failure rate of a diaphragm is 12%. Failure rate of oral contraceptive is 9%. So, yeah, have a fucking great life there, Jack.
Even, by the way, even if his percentage is right, even if the failure rate was only 3%, 3% is a lot.
Yeah.
But think about 3% for a second. So every 33 times you have sex, one of those times you might get pregnant. That's a lot, even by his standards. So
seriously. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Emmy, thank you for the dino. Honestly, a collective thank you from everyone watching for the dino. Okay, let's get through the video. Sorry, I didn't expect it to go as long as it ended up going. Life hack: can't have sex if I spend all my time on TikTok lives. True. What state did he live in? I think he said Massachusetts.
Yet put together until conception happens and the zygote was formed. Thank you. I think we have to
Can we move on to the next question, please? Thank you.
One sec, chat.
Thank you. Our fourth question tonight is from Rudy Ellis-Jones from Emmanuel College.
Hello, thank you for coming to today's talk. So my question, as someone studying archaeology and biological anthropology, I've learned that moral codes and social norms have always been fluid, shaped by time, culture, power. So many ancient and recent societies embrace same-sex relationships and even the idea of third genders well before Western conservatism even existed. So when you claim that modern conservative values represent some kind of universal, objective moral truth, like you said on your chair over there, aren't you just defending a selective, historically recent ideology that erases most of human history and targets people who have always been part of it?
No, but can you point to me of a... And maybe you can educate me. Can you point to me a great power that endorsed same-sex marriage? Not cohabitation, but marriage.
Ancient Mesopotamia.
As marriage. As recognized.
Marriage that exists.
Recognized by the state.
Damn. Had that answer locked and loaded.
And how did that work out for them?
It worked out perfectly fine. It was an accepted norm of society.
Okay, I still think it's wrong.
Okay.
Great argument. I can't remember the name of the last guest, but do you think that's a good argument? Like, I understand there are people that are going to have philosophical differences, but your opinion, your philosophical opinion, should be grounded in something. And so for the answer for why do we value a life at conception was magic. The answer for why are you against same-sex marriage is, well, I still disagree. Like, we really shouldn't be basing our opinions on vibes.
Swiftly moving on. So you said it was based on scripture and you believe that there are moral, objective, universal truths.
Yes, there are.
So
murder is wrong today and murder was wrong 2,000 years ago.
Right, okay, fair. That's not same-sex, but fair.
I love that he says murder is wrong. Murder is literally... The murder is defined with the word wrong, essentially, because it's the unjust killing, right? So it's like a circular thing. Saying murder is wrong, yeah. That's not really... Okay, anyway.
But there are moral truths that are transcendent of time, place, and matter.
Okay, but so just to clarify, you believe that this is in the Bible. This is laid out in the Bible, that man shall not sleep with man, and so therefore...
Well, it's also repeated throughout the New Testament as well. In the book of Matthew, Jesus reaffirms the biblical standard for marriage.
Okay, so I'm going to make two very, very quick points. So the first, so if we look at the Old Testament in isolation, just to start off with, as an example...
Eric, what is happening, bro? I'm showing it. I don't know what else to tell you. Why are you spamming so much?
So let's look at Exodus 35:2. Which suggests that if you work on the Sabbath, you should be put to death. If you look at Leviticus 11:7, it suggests that if you have pork, you should be put to death. Let me finish, I'll be done. If you plant 2 crops...
Do you really think you've changed anyone's beliefs in the past 46 minutes? I don't know, maybe not. Probably not. Since I've started going live, yes.
Side by side, you should be stoned by your entire village. If If you wear a suit, which you are wearing now, that contains two different fibers intertwined into the same jacket, you should be burned to the stake by your own mother. Now, following that rationale, in Leviticus 18:22, when it states that man shall not sleep with man, why aren't we burning ourselves at the stake as well? Why aren't we stoning ourselves to death?
That's a really good point.
Do you care to address my main contention that Christ affirmed biblical marriage in the book of Matthew? And can you tell me the difference between the ceremonial, the moral, and the ritual law? And then finally, also, tell me about Christianity, the difference between the new and the old covenant, or are you just going to cherry pick certain verses of ancient Israel that do not apply to new Christianity?
No, fair. So we'll look at 2 points then. So firstly, if we look at the Old Testament, we can see the kind of inconsistencies there. We've already touched upon that, right? That makes sense. Secondly, you mentioned the point of Jesus and Christ. He never mentioned anything to do with homosexuality at all.
Well, hold on a second. No, he affirmed biblical marriage as one man and one woman. He said a man shall leave his
Romans, right? In the New Testament.
No, in Matthew. That is not correct. I believe
in the New Testament.
In the New Testament.
Shrimpina, thank you so much for the gem gun and the cuddle. Thank you so much.
Well, Romans is also in the New Testament. Secondly, in Romans 1, the Apostle Paul talks negatively about homosexuality explicitly. Also, homosexuality is repeated in the book of Titus and in the book of Jude as not being favorable as the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Not even talking about the Old Testament verses. There are 3 types of the 613 Levitical laws, and you know, of course, in your own way, cherry pick some of them. We do not live under the ceremonial, we do not live under the ritual, but we do live under the moral. There's only 10 of the moral that we as Christians believe we're bound to. Some believe 9, which of course is the Decalogue. And so none of those that you mentioned we as Christians believe that we live under. However, we do look at what Christ articulated as the biblical standard of marriage. And we can also look to church tradition for this as well. And the church has had a tradition for well over 2,000 years. Even myself as a Protestant acknowledges that tradition is marriage between one man and one woman.
And fair point. But okay, say we put aside the Old Testament for now. We'll put that aside and the inconsistencies there. We'll look purely at the New Testament, following your rationale. Okay. Now, when you say that Christ lays specifically, and the New Testament states specifically that man shall not sleep with man, I'd like to point out a linguistic error on that point.
I did not say that. I said the biblical marriage was affirmed, and then Romans 1 did talk negatively about the action of homosexuality.
But ultimately, that affirmation comes from 8 lines in there that suggest that man shall not sleep with man.
Yes, of course. Yes, the Old Testament and New Testament harmonize one another, but Christ brought it to a different level, a different covenant, and a different moral teaching. It wasn't just enough to say.
I will say, while they are talking relatively fast, the video is also 1.25x, so that I can go to bed.
That you shall, man shall strike eye for eye, so that you shall turn the other cheek, that you shall love your enemy. Christ's moral standard was much more even elevated than that of the Israelites and the Hebrews.
Well, I'm going to ask you whose Bible, okay? Now, your Bible that you use currently is written in the English language, right? Correct?
Yeah, the King James Version, yes, thanks to Tyndale.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's written in the English language, which in itself is only, say, 500 years old. Now, but the Christianity in itself, say, is 2,000 years old or even older, yeah? Correct? Now, which means that the Bible was originally written not in English, but in ancient
Koine Greek.
Huh?
In Koine Greek.
Yeah, correct. Now, if we look at the Greek terminology of man.
Yes, and Jesus spoke Aramaic. You could translate things, you acknowledge that.
Well, we translate things, but translations are linguistically ambiguous. As a former classicist, I know that language can't be translated directly. So, for example, if we look at the translation of certain words into man, so I've got 2 words here. So I've got malakoi, which means essentially soft, which isn't necessarily directly saying a gay man. And then we've got, oh God, how do I say that? Arsena koitai, which essentially means prostitutes. Now, if we look at things linguistically, we can pick apart the Bible and say that actually, it wasn't saying man shall not sleep with man, it's saying man shall not sleep with prostitutes, which is an entirely different linguistic thing.
I'm not even getting into Leviticus, though. But no, my contention is completely New Testament focused.
This isn't Leviticus.
What you said, man shall not speak of the men. So you're talking about Romans.
Well, okay, these words are used throughout the
Right, well, actually, in Romans 1, it was actually women sleeping with women. So you got your verses wrong. In Romans 1, Paul is prophesying about the end of the world, and he's saying that in the end times, woman will like with woman like, and man will, I think it might say man will like men like. You have to get the verses specifically, but it is agreed upon. You can agree. This is why tradition is important, and I even say this as a Protestant, is that we believe that Scripture is very important, but also look to tradition. Church tradition has had an unbroken chain affirming matrimony, holy matrimony being one man, one woman. One, even as a non-Catholic, I'm glad that Pope Leo has reaffirmed in the last couple of days. And so I'm not even sure your contention, your point. Are you saying that the Bible doesn't affirm marriage as one man, one woman, or are you saying church tradition doesn't affirm marriage one man, one woman?
The Bible doesn't affirm.
Okay, well, clearly doesn't. That is complete nonsense.
It's a linguistic error, and it's debated.
But Christ our Lord, which is the standard, he affirms this idea that you will leave your father's home, going back to Genesis 12 and this idea of Abraham leaving his father's home, and you will cleave to your wife. That they'll be called one. In fact, this idea of a new creation, which is something that is then used by the Apostle Paul to describe the church of Christ and the bride of the church, and the church being the bride of Christ with Jesus. So I'm not even sure your contention. It is.
Yeah, but you're just avoiding my point. I'm saying the Bible that we have today is 100% a translation, and a translation
I acknowledge
is ambiguous.
And well, hold on. But what about specifically in Matthew or in the book of Romans? But in order for you to be correct, you mean the church fathers translated it wrong when they were within like 50 years of this. In order for your contention to be correct, you have to say that the early church fathers that wrote the early letters to the church, they were translating it wrong, and the tradition they established was wrong. So by then we can lean on tradition and Scripture. So when you get tradition plus Scripture, you get something that is authentic, that is real, and that is verifiable.
I've already highlighted that tradition does not align with Scripture. We've gone back thousands of years to ancient Mesopotamia.
But
tradition.
understand, but
It's
at the
not
time,
aligned with the Bible.
they all spoke Greek, they wrote Greek, and they spoke Aramaic. So, for example, when they were writing the early Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they were obviously writing in Greek. They knew that language. So in Matthew, when they were writing Greek, and then the early church fathers knew Greek and adopted that as church tradition, we have a 2,000 unbroken chain, I think you would irrefutably say that it was the teachings of Christ for one man and one woman. Because the church tradition has been unbroken for 2,000 years, and they derived it from Scripture of that original language.
You can't argue that. That makes sense. I mean, if we agree to disagree, then why don't we look at biology?
So you know better than the church fathers?
No, I don't. I'm not saying I know better than the church fathers. What I'm saying is linguistically there is undeniably an error, regardless of what you say. That is
Our lens maybe, but not from the people when they were making these
I
traditions.
agree. They may have got that right, but that may not have been their original meaning. What we're saying is the meaning has been warped over time because societal and cultural context, such as the British Empire.
Can we start bringing this question to a close, please?
It can be, but that is why tradition matters, because the tradition, they understood the context.
No, okay. So notice what Charlie's saying here. He's saying the tradition matter. It doesn't matter if it was mistranslated, even though this is supposed to be a divine scripture. Doesn't matter if this was translated. Tradition is what matters. So if it did get mistranslated back then, it's so long. We just should stick with hating gay people. That's essentially what he's saying here. And it doesn't. And it'd be. I would put in my comment. Which one? Yes. Oh, that's a good comment. Yeah. When you combine incorrectly translated scripture with tradition, you get dogma. Yes, that's right. A lot of what ended up being tradition was the combination of there were the councils where they brought like different religious leaders, and they just decided what they wanted to keep and what they didn't want to keep in their version of the Bible, right? So we had the Council of Nicaea and Constantinople, and the idea that we should Council of Nicaea mentioned the idea that we should just say, okay, well, maybe that's not what God wanted, but we've been hating gay people so long, we may as well should, when there's no logical reason to, based on not only history but just the golden rule. I mean, if it doesn't pass the golden rule test, then I don't know, treat others how you want to be treated. That's it. Period. Like, if I'm gay, leave me alone. If they're gay, leave them alone. What's the problem? So yeah. Anyway, and that's why you have different sects of religion, right? Because they didn't agree. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly right. And that's why there should be a separation of church and state. Because I have no problem with you worshiping whatever you want to worship, but why should that be thrust on other people? That's the issue.
Tradition is context dependent.
Well, yes and no, because of course tradition is, but if the tradition lasts for 2,000 years, then we look back as to how did they get to that conclusion? How did they reach that verdict? And if that verdict is in alignment with what we see in Scripture, it means that their verdict was correct in Scripture.
They never reached that verdict.
It was not in alignment. They never reached the verdict that it was in alignment. That's the problem with his argument here. He's saying it essentially it's entirely on tradition. There was never a consensus on this.
Historically pointed out,
and all of the major church councils, it was very
modern day.
Well, no, I'm talking about like 300 and 400 and 500. The original
Which in the scale of 2,000 years is nothing.
No, but they set this unbroken chain. We've had an unbroken chain in a course that says that marriage is one man and one woman. The church has never wavered on this.
Noted by the British Empire under British form of Christianity.
I'm talking all the way back to like 200 or 300. The idea of biblical Christianity goes back to the early times of the church when it was a scattered, persecuted church well before King Justinian and well before the Eastern Roman Empire, well before mass conversions. When it was a persecuted church, the church believed in one man, one woman, because they got it from the scripture itself. We want to keep going, or
can we move on to the next question, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Damsith Wimalasena from Lucy Cavendish College. Thank you.
Hello, Charlie. Thank you for being here. Just before I start with my question, I wanted to address something you said earlier on sort of Western Christian values being the reason for the abolishment of slavery globally. I'm not sure whether you know this. I've seen you repeating this quite often. I'm a practicing Buddhist, and it was actually Buddhism, Buddhist emperors, Emperor Ashoka of India, who first abolished slavery globally. So I would sort of ask you to sort of look at other sort of...
I will look into that. He did it globally? They had that much, the Buddhists had that much span of influence?
Oh, within India.
Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all,
How much y'all want to bet he does not look into this?
my first question, or my only question, is you've advocated and applauded the reducing and removing of public funding for universities on the grounds they promote ideological biases. Given that universities play a critical role in driving national innovation, research, and upward mobility, especially through federally funded grants, how do you reconcile this position with the broader societal value that higher education institutes offer?
Well, they can, but in Harvard's case, for example, who's getting their funding pulled, they have a $50 billion endowment. Just so we are clear, in pounds, that would be like what, 42 billion, 45 billion? I mean, I'm trying to learn the conversion rate here. I mean, it's an extraordinary amount of money. They can either use their endowments to fund it, and if you have certain behavior and certain practices, then you should not get federal funding. Harvard is in direct violation of the United States Supreme Court fair admissions case, which says you cannot discriminate people based on the color of their skin. Go ahead.
But isn't the whole point of it, you can't use endowments like that. The point of
they can.
The point of an endowment is to manage a fund through perpetuity. Cambridge has an endowment, and that endowment allows professorships to be funded to allow for research into sciences. That's the whole point of an endowment.
Hold on, you just said it funds research into sciences. That's what they should do with their monstrosity of an endowment.
Yeah, but the endowment is,
the interest alone on their endowment could fund the entire research and development budget of most Ivy League schools. They have a $50 billion endowment. Even like a podunk money manager in America can earn a 7 to 10% investment in the markets the last couple of years. That's $5 billion of returns that endowment could then reinvest in whatever they want. Instead, Harvard has become a hedge fund with a radical school attached. And I think that's very wrong for US taxpayers to continue to subsidize.
But it's not just Harvard. You've called on colleges being a scam. You've constantly attacked higher education institutes. You've attacked liberal arts as a scam.
The reason that Charlie Kirk and people like him have to attack college as a scam, because it's essentially it's known by the past not just few years, decades, that the more educated you are, the more likely you are to vote Democrat rather than Republican. So, and we could get into reasons why that's the case later. It's not the liberal agenda. It's just how brains work. But that's why it's so important for conservatives to push that college is a scam. The reality is, there are people that are better off not going to college, but that is not the case for most people. The average amount of money you make if you go to college versus if you don't is higher. This is statistically proven in pretty much every industry.
For example, like a lot of conservatives, Peter Thiel studied philosophy at Stanford. Ronald Reagan studied sociology. A lot of them did study liberal arts, and you keep undermining these august institutions, which have provided a lot for society. Like society's backbones have been universities and higher learning institutes, and yet you keep attacking them.
Well, they used to be largely, but again, I don't want to speak too much about this country, but in America, they don't represent fundamental American values. You know, Peter Thiel, after he graduated...
I would love to hear what he describes as fundamental American values. I would love to hear what his fundamental American values are.
Stanford wrote an entire book criticizing college and then paying people not to go to college. So Peter Thiel, who spoke at this very school, and you guys had a great conversation with him, do you know that he believes college is such a scam? He would pay people $100,000 a year for 20 years straight not to go to college. So not exactly a good argument in your favor.
This is a fallacious appeal to authority. What the fuck does this matter? You know, Peter Thiel, who's really rich and was in this building before, thinks college is a scam? Owned libs. Who cares? What does that matter?
Peter Thiel, who got a philosophy degree, made billions of dollars, and has now forked over tens of millions of dollars for people not to go to U.S. universities and colleges.
Yeah, but it's not just Peter Thiel.
I know, but you mentioned him, I didn't. But to complete the point, is that...
As Thomas went to did liberal arts.
Look, in America, there are far too many people going to college. We need people to become welders, electricians, people that work with their hands. There is a major trade deficit problem in the United States. We have 11 million well-paying jobs that we cannot find enough labor for, and instead we have a lot of people going to university to go study North African lesbian poetry. It might sound...
First of all, that class sounds fun. North African lesbian poetry? That's number one. Number two, someone said Dan react unbiasedly. Well, when Charlie makes a good point, I'd love to give him props for it. I haven't really heard one yet.
But it doesn't necessarily, A, either development the content, the character, or the development of the soul, and B, it does not necessarily also give you the skills necessary. Some college is good for you. I'm a big proponent of Hillsdale College.
Guys, can you please be quiet?
I believe Hillsdale College is America's greatest college, and I'm a big proponent of that. But I would ask a question. In your own words, what do you believe the purpose of college is?
its critical engagement. But coming back to your point on lesbian poetry or whatever.
North African lesbian poetry.
North African lesbian poetry. So in the morning, I actually had a lecture on development policy, and one of the key authors on sort of development economics.
Wait, you haven't heard one because you are reacting with bias. Oh, Thomas, can you lay one out? Maybe I missed it. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I am biased in that I've watched Charlie Kirk and I know that he's a liar and he uses plenty of fallacious arguments. But maybe he made a really good argument that I missed. So let me know what it is. But I need you to understand that there's a difference between being partial and being biased, right? Stopping. Sorry, I have to react to really dumb comments. If one person is just wrong a lot and the other person is right a lot, that does not mean that they're both right and wrong 50% of the time. That's what CNN does, by the way. That's what people like Jake Tapper do. That's part of the reason why Trump was legitimized as an actual candidate in 2024. If the media were unbiased, 100% of the news coverage would have been about Donald Trump. 100%. It would have been, hey guys, do you remember when he tried to overthrow the government on January 6, 2021? You guys remember that? We're going to run that for the next 12 months. We're going to keep talking about that. But because the media has to show to people like you, the lowest common denominator, that they're unbiased, they're like, okay, well, Kamala Harris kind of answered that question weird. Donald Trump was found civilly liable for raping someone, but they're both, here are their policies. Here's her 82-page plan. Here's his 14-page chat GPT plan. One of the two is going to win. It's a 50-50 shot. Sane washing Trump. Yes, thank you.
Nussbaum, who talks about how liberal arts sort of engages you critically. And one could argue, even North African lesbian poetry, I don't think that's a degree, I think that's just a module within a degree.
Maybe.
Yeah. That makes you.
The fact you don't know shows how rotten to the core universities have become.
You're taking one example and telling conservatives.
Wait. What did he say?
Lesbian poetry. I don't think that's a degree. I think that's just a module within a degree.
Maybe.
Yeah. That makes you.
The fact you don't know shows how rotten to the core universities have become.
Good argument, man. You really got him there.
Taking one example and telling conservatives and hordes of young people that college is a scam. College isn't a scam. I mean, I took my mum down to a pub just down the road where Watson and Crick announced DNA. If college is a scam, then DNA wouldn't have been discovered. With cancer research.
Hold on a second. Yes, you're right. At this specific university, you guys split the atom. You had Sir Isaac Newton. You had some of the greatest minds of the West. I don't know about what's happening here, and I'm not going to criticize it. But at most colleges in the West, they've gone away from places of inquiry and appreciation.
Are you able to turn the volume up on YouTube? The vid's really low. Ooh.
What is good.
Yes, I can. 1 second. Sorry, chat. We gotta help out the other streams. For those that don't know, we are currently live on 3 streams. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. If the TikTok live does end, make sure to go over there because we'll keep going. But let me properties, volume, advanced audio properties. Okay, I'm gonna up the volume 50%. Let me know if that's good. YouTube and Twitch, let me know if that's good.
And what is beautiful, and into this incessant oppression Olympics of trying to deconstruct the core canon that is our birth certificate. I don't know if that's happening here. It's certainly.
That's not true, though.
In America, it is objectively true, okay?
That isn't true.
Again, no, first of all, they removed Western civilization as a core course in Stanford in the 1990s. They tried to bring it back with petitions, and the university said, no, teaching Western civilization is racist. Shakespeare is not taught. Let me finish.
Thanks, Obama.
Wait, I have to look this up. Thank you, Miss M. We're gonna fact check this. Hold on. Western civilization, Stanford. I gotta look that up. Although Stanford's required Western civilization course had once been the most popular course on campus, the university's current general education requirements emphasize mandatory technique-oriented. Read the whole thing. Why is this written so boringly? Earth's potent and well-written diagnosis does go a long way towards identifying the more prominent scholarly culprits responsible for what can only be described as a great betrayal of the ethos of liberal arts education. Folks behind the 1619 Project at the New York Times understand all too well the deposits of wisdom that form the foundation of a civic culture necessary to sustain a free society cannot be defended if they are not taught. The presence of activist professors and on campus heeded the onslaught against curriculum that featured mandatory core courses centered on canon of great books, a canon that was never as static as its critics maintained. A question that has to be asked over and over: why did so many college presidents and boards of trustees at our finest institutions, the very beneficiaries in most cases of coherent and demanding liberal arts education, so quickly and abjectly surrender to transformationalists? The curriculum. It's not a single class, but most curriculum is centered on Western civilization. Oh, is that what they mean over here? Where they say like they separate it into other sections? Western. Like, I'm not even really finding anything that he's talking about. Did Stanford move Western civilization? See if AI can help us. Yes, Stanford University did remove its Western civilization requirement, which was initially taught until 1969. Is this what we're talking about? Curriculum used to be 99% Western and now expanded to include other cultures. Bro, this was in the 60s. Are we dead ass? Yeah, like he made it sound like it was in the 2020s. Rick is just misrepresenting freshman courses at Stanford for many years in the 1990s, early 2000s. Hold on. Stanford replaced Western culture with culture, ideas, and values, a course with works by women and persons of color, class, race, gender themes. This doesn't even seem bad, bro. I blame Reagan for this. God forbid we learn about other cultures. And at least one non-European culture covered. Oh no! At least one! Oh no! It's just intersectionality. Yeah. Okay. So that explains his point. His point is that he doesn't like intersectionality, basically, because he's saying it's bad that they got rid of Western Civ, but they didn't get rid of Western Civ. It's just they're teaching it through many different lenses now. Here, let's go back just a little bit.
This incessant oppression Olympics of trying to deconstruct the core canon that is our birth certificate. I don't know if that's happening here. It's certainly
That's not true, though.
Deconstruct our core canon. That's a really fancy way of saying critically engage. Genuinely. Like, critically engage with the information in front of us. Deconstruct our core canon. Bro, touch grass.
In America, it is objectively true, okay?
That isn't true.
Okay, no, first of all, they removed Western civilization as a core course in Stanford in the 1990s. They tried to bring it back with petitions, and the university said, no, teaching Western civilization is racist. Shakespeare is not taught. Let me finish. Shakespeare.
Okay, so, I mean, based on, listen, it's AI. AI might be wrong, but AI said it was 1969 that they got rid of it as a singular course.
Is not taught at major universities across America because it's deemed as racist. I talked to some students earlier in the English department, and they said, hey, I'm studying Shakespeare. I said, that's refreshing because in a lot of U.S. schools, they don't teach Shakespeare because he's called racist. You would be surprised.
So first of all, I'm pretty sure Most schools still teach Shakespeare. But second of all, is that what we're talking? Bro, who cares? no offense. Okay, no offense. Listen, I'm not like an educator, or an expert on college or anything like that. But like, are we being dead ass? He went from Western Civ to Shakespeare. He's all over the place. But yeah, I'm 34, so I know. Like, I learned Shakespeare. It's possible, I guess, that there are schools that aren't teaching Shakespeare. But is Shakespeare a part of our core canon? Is it Shakespeare part of our birth certificate or whatever the other weird words he was using? No school would remove all Shakespeare from curriculum. Too much of a social reference. Yeah. No one. It's in Common Core literature texts. Yeah. I was about to say with Common Core, like you might not learn everything. Like I learned Macbeth, but I didn't learn about Hamlet. I think it's Hamlet. I'm an English teacher. I literally teach Shakespeare. I think the issue is how to translate Shakespeare. Well, Shakespeare wasn't American, so probably not worth it.
How wretched to the core some of these colleges have become in America.
If you look at the Global Innovation Index, America...
Wait, is he implying that colleges aren't teaching Shakespeare? What do you need to learn about in college? Everyone learns about it in high school.
Is predominantly, a lot of their majors are in humanities and liberal arts. They're number 2 on the Global Innovation Index. China is somewhere near 13. If you look at every metric, Fortune 1000 CEOs, 40% did humanities and liberal arts. There is a value in liberal arts, yet you're criticizing
it. And I'm going to keep on criticizing it. Also, the vast majority of liberal arts graduates do not respect freedom of speech. That is an empirical poll. They increase...
Chad, I think I might have had a stroke. Did I just hear? We're gonna run that sentence back. We're gonna run that sentence back.
Humanities.
Wait. Logan, restart. I just got in. Yeah, I got you.
Did
Y'all, I'm trolling, right? Thank you for the follow, Logan.
Humanities and liberal arts. There is a value in liberal arts, yet you're criticizing it.
And I'm going to keep on criticizing it. Also, the vast majority of liberal arts graduates do not respect freedom of speech. That is an empirical poll. They increasingly do not have reverence or gratitude for the United States of America.
The vast majority of liberal arts graduates do not respect freedom of speech. That is an empirical poll. Can we break that whole thing down for a second here? What is the metric for determining how much a person respects freedom of speech? And what is the empirical poll? Let's look into this. We have to. I'm gonna need to. Yeah, Lori, I agree. Laura, sorry, I agree. Liberal arts graduates. Freedom of speech poll. Liberal arts student, a lesson in freedom of speech. Seems like a poll. This seems like an opinion piece. Yeah, this poll. College free speech rankings. Do you think he has this on his source document? Do you think he has a source document? They think that thinking hate speech is wrong is anti-First Amendment. Even if that's the case, where are they getting that information? Like, he just made such a wild claim. An empirical poll is an oxymoron, right? Yes, Spore, thank you. It is an oxymoron. Wait, Phil has it? Phil, okay. Oh, this is the same article I just pulled up. Is this what he's basing it on? Poll here. There's no way he's basing it on an opinion piece. His source document is this morning's toilet paper. Isn't an empirical poll based on opinion? Yeah, no, empirical poll I do think is an oxymoron. That's not really how that works. Yes, it's 52. Okay, here we go. According to my oh wait, we gotta go back a little bit. My calculations is crazy. Hold on. The survey looks at. Okay, here we go. Attitudes towards speech and political leanings, in fact, differ across various types of institutions of higher education. New data from Foundation of Individual Rights in Education, Real Clear Education, and College Pulse provide empirical. This is where you got the word, chat. This is where you got the word. Empirical insight into this question. Their recently released survey. Okay, here we go. Oh, it is from the rankings. Oh my God. Wait a second. All right, chat. I'm glad. You know what? I'm so glad we looked this up. Okay. The Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, in partnership with Real Clear Education, commissioned College Pulse to conduct a survey of students at 159 colleges about students' experiences with free speech on their campuses. Fielded from February 15th to May 30th of 2021 via the College Pulse mobile app and web portal, the survey included 37,000 student respondents who were currently enrolled in 4-year degree programs. This was the largest survey of college students about free speech on their campuses ever conducted. Claremont McKenna has the highest ranked score on the 2021 free speech rankings. University of Chicago. Okay, so these are the rankings, but where's the details here? Download report. Oh, I have to. Okay, well, the data revealed that the students at small liberal arts are both more accepting of attempts to silence speech and overwhelmingly more liberal than their public and private university counterparts. The survey looks at student opinion on campuses across the higher education spectrum, from small liberal arts colleges such as Macalester and Colby colleges to varied university types that range blah, blah, blah. Okay. The survey asked students how often they censored themselves out of concern for how a professor, the administration, or a student would respond to their ideas, questions, or views, and found rough parity across all institutional types. According to my calculations, more than half of the students at liberal arts colleges, 52%, and big research university, 53%, reported silencing themselves occasionally or more frequently, along with 52% of students at more teaching-focused universities. That suggests that no institutional type is immune from the omnipresent wave of cancel culture so pronounced on campuses today. Yet the more substantive divergence occurs when reactions to speech are considered. When asked about acceptability of shouting down and protesting a speaker, 3/4 of students at liberal arts colleges said they believe such behavior is acceptable on certain occasions based on my analysis. At teaching universities, that number dropped to 62%. Almost half, 44% of liberal arts students maintain that shouting down a speaker is always or sometimes acceptable. Okay. Sometimes acceptable is huge. Do it based on my analysis, right? Isn't that wild? That's a right-wing think tank. Oh, Annie, I knew already that this was going to be a right-wing opinion piece, but I wanted to look at the data they were using because even the data doesn't really look great. Because what they're saying is 44% of liberal arts students maintain that shouting down a speaker is they're using two different things. They're using both the always, which is the top metric, and the sometimes, and lumping that into 44%. Sometimes acceptable really is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. What if a speaker comes up and just starts screaming the N-word over and over and over again? It would be acceptable to shout them down. I would like to believe most people would think that would be acceptable. Shouting down a speaker is also First Amendment. That's also true. So even the analysis of anti-First Amendment is wrong based on what the First Amendment is. They categorize shouting down hate speech as cancel culture. It's fine if they categorize shouting down hate speech as cancel culture. The problem is when they categorize shouting down hate speech as anti-First Amendment, because that's a lie. That's just not what the First Amendment says. If you want to categorize it cancel culture, that's fine. You could define it however you want. That's okay. But shouting down hate speech is not against the First Amendment. Period. So, okay, I'm glad we looked into this.
They don't care about the core values of the U.S. Constitution. If you want to go to college, that's fine. But in our country, 40% of kids that enter college do not graduate. The kids that do graduate, half of them end up getting jobs that do not require any sort of college degree. There are all these made-up degrees. In America, I know it's different than the experience you might be having here. Your tutoring system here is objectively great. I'm glad you guys have it.
Also, I want to do a quick reminder. I know for people that want to watch the video front to back, just probably just go watch it because I'm, you know, y'all know me, ADHD, and also transformative. Randolini's Law, okay? The amount of time and energy needed to produce bullshit versus the amount of energy and time needed to refute bullshit. So that took us like 5 or 10 minutes to break down where he got the stat. Thank you, everybody, for the lightning bolts. Thank you so much. To break down where he got the stat, the misleading part of the stat, and how it was used. Normalize yelling at Nazis again? Yeah, true. The misleading part of the stat and how it was used to get his opinion. Whereas it took him 5 seconds to say it's an empirical poll that liberal arts graduates are more against the First Amendment. Like, so his sentence is a lie, right? His sentence is a lie, but it's fueled by all of this bullshit that it took us, what, 100 times the amount of time to debunk, right? It took him 5 seconds and took us like 10 minutes to debunk it. Lies are so easy to spread and so difficult to refute. Yep.
Class sizes in America are 400 to 500 students, sometimes per introductory course. To go hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, so there are things that don't matter to find jobs that do not exist. And so let me just make one final point, is that, of course, some people should be going to college, but generally in the United States of America, it has become a racket of debt, it has become a burden, and a place where we're actually not putting our best and brightest into the job field itself to be equipped for the jobs of the future. Instead, we have a lot of baristas at Starbucks with philosophy degrees.
Baristas at Starbucks with philosophy degrees. This meme is not backed up by any kind of evidence, by the way. Laura, I actually really agree with that. We should encourage non-university careers just as much as university careers. I agree. But that is certainly a far cry from college is a scam. Because Republicans want us to work in their factories now? Yeah. That's why it is important to learn truth so you can dismiss non-truth.
Also mention indoctrination. As per the Oxford Dictionary's definition of indoctrination, it means that you take a belief and you can't critically observe that belief. Turning Point USA has over 30,000 chapters, 3,000 chapters across US universities. So are you arguing that students, including conservatives, lack the critical thinking skills to sort of decide political ideologies, political beliefs, that they're so dumbfounded that they can't decide for themselves what's right and what's wrong, and that your whole premise is on the fact that students like us, we lack critical thought in deciding what is taught in schools?
Again, I'm not using Cambridge as the school that I think of, but in America, we have millions of people that go to these massive state schools that have humanities departments, that are not reading the great books, that do not have a tutoring system, that are unfortunately laced
What are the great books?
with the most anti-Western thought imaginable. I don't really quite following what one thing has to do with the other, why 3,000 chapters has something to do with your indictment. Maybe you can clarify, but I think we're out of time.
You can clarify, but then we'll move on.
In general, colleges should be a place that lift you up to what is good, true, and beautiful. To study the great things that have been, to develop your soul and develop your character. Character in Greek literally means like tattoo, to etch within you. Far too often, colleges create ungrateful, pessimistic, and nihilistic revolutionaries that want to tear down what was before and instead have no alternative to build a future, and the West is suffering because of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I disagree, but thank you.
Bro got mad at the end there. What the fuck? Relax.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next question is from Archie McIntosh at Jesus College.
It's good to meet you, Charlie. I hope you can understand first rule. I'm a little nervous. There's a very real chance I could wake up tomorrow, front page of YouTube. Charlie Kirk owns man bun idiot with facts and logic. So
destroys.
Yeah, destroys. Okay, so my question is, I agree that stable monogamous relationships often produce the best outcomes for society. But if that structure really works for everyone, why do we consistently see societies, once they become safer and more prosperous, move away from traditional monogamy? And why do so many marriages still end in divorce, even among people who generally try to make it work? And just one final framing there. If you believe in free markets because they are decentralized and they adapt to reality without top-down control, and given the individual ability to form healthy long-term pair bonds very significantly with factors like genetics and ecologically calibrated attachment styles, why do you reject top-down control in economics but not extend that same rejection to human behavior in terms of marriage?
Okay, so the first one, the second law of thermodynamics answers your question, is that it's the law of decay. Societies tend to decay against the roots that created them. For example, as a side note, here in this country, you guys invented the idea of free speech. You brought it to the world. You guys do not have free speech in this country anymore. 30 people a day are arrested in the UK for inflammatory social media posts. Someone by the name of Lucy.
Okay, we're looking this up. We're fact checking that, chat. That something about that doesn't pass the sniff test. Who's you guys? I think he means Brits. Arrest in England for social media posts. Okay, from BBC. They were arrested for posting during the riots. Will it change anything? Wait a second. No. He did not say 30 people a day, but got the stat from... No. Not like this. No, hold on, chat. This can't be it. He couldn't have come to the country he's talking about and been this misinformed. There's no way. Okay, so the what we're talking about here is for social media posts specifically during riots. Okay? Social media posts specifically during riots. Kay and Parler have been sentenced to 38 months and 20 months in prison, respectively, for stirring up racial hatred online during the summer riots. Changes in the aftermath of the disorder felt like a significant moment in which people had to face real-life consequences for what they said and did online. There was widespread recognition that false claims and online hate contributed to the violence and racism on British streets in August. In their wake, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said social media carries responsibility for tackling misinformation. Okay. So, as it is with a lot of these fact checks, we're going to see first where the lie started, right? Because it usually comes from some kernel of truth. So here's where we got the more than 30, right? We got the more than 30. That's where the lie started. But then there's also the secondary, which is there's the material lie, and then there's the analytical lie. So now we're saying that the UK no longer has freedom of speech because people can't share misinformation that endangers others, right? This is like saying we don't have freedom of speech because we can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Like saying we don't have freedom of speech because we can't yell bomb at an airport. That's what he's implying. More than 30 people found themselves arrested over social media posts. From what I found, at least 17 of them have been charged. The police will have deemed that some of those investigated did not meet the threshold for criminality. Can we look up a more recent article? Well, this is from 2024. More than 30 arrests a day. Okay, this is from... Yeah, but this is from Free Speech Union. Hold on. We'll just... Free... Union. The British organization... Plug this in. Media bias. I'm just curious. It's freedom.eagle.blog. Come on. Did not exist? Am I just being impatient? Okay, Free Speech Union. Well, this is from New Zealand. Okay. But let's read it. The police are making more than 30 arrests a day over offensive posts on social media and other platforms. The Times has the story. The Times. I thought they meant the New York Times. It's literally called the Times. Okay, hold on. Okay. Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003. Let's look into this. Improper use of electronic communications network. A person is guilty of an offense if he sends by means of public electronic communications network a message or other matter that is grossly offensive or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character, or causes any such message or matter to be sent. 2, a person is guilty of an offense if, for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, or needless anxiety to another, sends by means of public communications network a message that he knows to be false, causes such a message to be sent, or persistently makes use of the public electronic network. Okay, well, that C is a little weird there. I don't really understand why that would be a problem. A person guilty of an offense under this section shall be liable, or summary, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, we have the Times at Home Times. So where is this data coming from? Number of arrests made under custody data obtained by the Times shows that the officers are making 12,000 arrests a year under Section... Oh, and Section 1 of Malicious Communications Act 1988. An act to make a provision for the punishment of persons who send or deliver letters or other articles for the purpose of causing distress or anxiety. What are the other thing? Oh, here we go. A message which is indecent or grossly offensive, which is in whole or parts of an indecent or grossly offensive nature, is guilty of this offense so far as they're failing the paragraph. The U.S. was 12 when the Times began. This feels so vague. I do not like these laws. These laws, so parts of these laws I do think are worded in a fashion that I wouldn't be comfortable with as an American who, for the most part, likes our Constitution. That being said, I still want to know where these numbers are coming from. Custody data obtained. The act make it illegal to cause distress. Source freedom of information. Okay, I mean, they're saying... So I guess we look up if the Times is bias fact check. While that loads. LA Times. Times UK. There's right of center, but it does say mostly factual. Okay. I doubt they pursue small social media offenses. The thing is, the number seems like a lot. So either arrest people for sending "we need to talk" text because they cause enormous anxiety. The number seems really high. If this number is true, me being unbiased, okay, for the Charlie Kirk ass lickers. If the number is true, this does seem really high for something like social media posts. Like, I can't imagine how many social media posts would warrant that many arrests. They don't just arrest you for anything. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, what are the examples here? Because that seems like a lot. Okay, so have you seen what some people say on social media? Do they have where the numbers come from? They said it's a freedom of information request, so the source is freedom of information request. That's what it says. Half of them are dick pics. I'm in the UK. It was all for inciting violence during big riots we had. It wasn't just nothing. Yeah, but this is saying so these are the numbers over time. So like the riots are from 2024, right? And we did read the article on that, but these are still pretty high for. I mean, basically all of COVID. They're high. So I don't know if there were riots during all of COVID. I guess I wouldn't be too surprised. And you got to remember, arrested and charged are two different things. That's true. That's definitely true. But I can still see this being. This still seems like a lot. I could be wrong though. Or hold on. I have a question. Do y'all think if someone sends you a message, okay, this is I'm gonna poll this. Okay, I'm curious. If someone sends you a message and says, "I hope you," the message says, this is a quote, not me saying it. "I hope you die, slur," end quote, and sends that message. Do you think there should be legal liability of some kind? Laughing emoji for yes, crying emoji for no. Nah, because of the word hope. Yeah. No, you don't have. Probably no. There should be fines. Repeat, I missed it. Okay. You get a message. The message states, "I hope you die, slur." And that's the whole message. Should there be legal liability for that? If they message you like 3 times later, back to back to back, yeah. No tolerance for intolerance? No, nah. I would say that would be bullying. Fines for the first or second, maybe then jail time. What's the slur? Let's say it's a bad one. Okay. Let's say it's a bad one. Maybe a fine, but arrested. I don't know. If it's repeated, yeah, but once not. Okay. So depending on, you sure you want to give the state that discretion? Yeah. So this is a good question. This is why I asked the question, because I genuinely am not sure. I think you can argue that if it's just like a one-time thing, then no. But if it's continued, then it's harassment, then it's bullying or whatever. Then yes. I think that what's a bad one? Do you want me to say a slur? What are we doing here? We're trying to get the live ended. Typically, that's not what's being charged. It's investigated and goes no further. That's kind of a weird rule. No, not like number of slurs. I'm saying number of messages. All slurs are bad. I was just answering the person's question, okay? I was just answering the person's question. What's a good one? There's no good. Okay, all right. I'm never reading chat again. Actually, matter of fact, y'all think about what you've done for a minute. Okay. Dude, is that Marco Rubio? Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, Alina. Bro, not the okay, Alina. Okay. Okay, hold on. Two things. Number one, we have to get back to the video. Okay, so I'm gonna try to get back to that as soon as possible. Number two, I am still very, very curious what the context of these arrests are, because like 30 arrests a day does seem like a lot. Dan violated our free speech rights. In the meantime, oh yeah, the video I forgot. Yeah. Okay, all right, we're gonna get back to the video, and then maybe we'll touch back on that shortly. In the meantime, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining. We are live Thursdays to Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern, doing live political debates, political discussions, and fact checks. We also try to be live for all major political events. So if you like this content, drop a follow, tap the screen. Thank you all so much. 30 bigots off the street sounds fine. Yeah, that's why I need to know the context. Because, I mean, if the UK just fucking sucks and there's just a bunch of shitty people there that deserve to be arrested, then this stat is meaningless, right? It's actually like a good stat. But yeah, we are live right now on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. TikTok is still in limbo, might still get banned. Make sure you're following on Twitch and YouTube if you're interested in continuing to follow this content. Let me go ahead and put up the video will continue in 40 seconds. If I haven't pressed play in 40 seconds, unfollow me. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. There's the YouTube and Twitch. Okay. I'm gonna shout out Boots, Chris, and Ice Cold. Thank you so much for being the top 3 tappers. Okay. I'm gonna reset it real quick. I really appreciate all of you. And for everyone that's gifted or subbed so far, thank you all so much. Nobody has to gift. Nobody has to sub. All I'm asking is that you make sure you follow.
Connolly is currently facing prison time for a Facebook post that was critical of migrants. It is normal, unfortunately, for civilizations to get away from how they once operated and how they once were. Now, to your question, does that answer the first part of your question? You were saying, why do they get away from monogamy? I want to make sure I'm answering your question.
I would say I don't feel that that's a full answer.
Okay, so you're asking why do they get away from what works? Is that correct?
Yes. Well, why do societies make this change once they become more prosperous?
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, because prosperity leads to degeneracy, for sure. That would be the answer. Yes. And so once you are prosperous, you tend to no longer have the moral guardrails or the limitations that...
Maybe we don't keep playing the video.
Let's just say you no longer have delayed gratification because you have instant gratification because you have a surplus of goods, and then you have a decline of a transcendent moral order. The second part of the question, can you remind me, please, what the second question was? About markets?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, well, for example, I believe in intervention in markets if there is something that is improper morally. So for example, I do not believe that you should be able to scam your neighbor or have misleading advertising because I believe in a transcendent moral standard, and the same goes for my personal views on marriage.
Okay, so I think we largely agree on the foundation. I'd like to propose something that you might like to think about. So firstly, I absolutely acknowledge that, again, if everyone in society was able to maintain healthy long-term pair bonds, that would be best. Again, there's strong data showing that independent of socioeconomic factors, broken homes are some of the strongest predictors of poor life outcomes.
We totally agree.
Yes. And even, I'm not sure if many people are aware of this.
I got to comment on it. I'm sorry. Prosperity leads to degeneracy as an argument for why prosperous societies moved away from monogamy. Does he not realize that opening yourself up to that argument means that we should avoid prosperity, which means we should probably tax the rich more? Like, how are you as a conservative in this country making that argument? How can you do that? How can you hate gay people so much that you would make that argument? Oh my God.
But if you track, as countries become more socially egalitarian, somewhat surprisingly, rates of female depression and anxiety also spike disproportionately. So I think one of the problems here is that when you try and impose moral absolutism, inevitably, again, due to variance in attachment issues, due to industrialized culture, absent parents, screens, raising kids, around 50% of adults in the West develop attachment disorders, which make it very difficult to maintain long-term pair bonds. And then additionally, you have things like variation in oxytocin receptors, in density, and shape, also in vasopressin. There are going to be, even if there's 5% of people who feel that these rules really do not fit them, they will push back. And this will create ideologies that then grow into more wider appealing ideologies which then, leads to this change. I think this is what happened in the sexual revolution. It started with a push for female autonomy, and then it was almost morphed into a really exaggerated expression of pushing for maximizing individual freedom. And I think that when you try and impose moral absolutism this way, it just inevitably causes pushback. And I think if you were to, as someone with a platform, instead say, hey, monogamy is great, it works best for most people, but I also understand there are some people it doesn't work so well for, more people would hear the message that you want to push.
Okay, thank you for that. That's an interesting. I've actually never gotten that question before. It's very thoughtful. Would you say you're against moral absolutism then?
Yes, I would.
Are you against that absolutely?
No, I'm very open to having my mind changed. And
so it's not an absolute thing.
Well, I'm against moral absolutism.
How is this person famous?
Are you against moral absolutism? Absolutely.
No.
Okay, so then you're consistent. So
I think
it's all just kind of. It's preference, not. It's about preference. And you could just basically do whatever you prefer. There is no transcendent moral order.
Well, I think what you're doing though is slightly unfairly putting me into a loop, because I'm very open to having my mind changed.
No, that's fine. What I'm saying though is that by definitionally, and this is something that will keep on coming back, you must choose what moral standard we live by. I'm very clear as to what moral standard. The lie of the West, of modernity, the last 30 years, is that we're going to have you live and let live, and there will be no moral standard. That itself is a moral standard, and it's a really bad one. And to your point, that yes, it creates more suffering, it creates more despair. And no, I disagree with what you say, and I respect the heart of what you're saying it. I will say that I have a moral obligation not to accommodate when people fall short, but instead try to lift them up towards the standard that is true and that I know that works.
So where I'd push this is I'd ask you, you describe people falling short when they fail to engage in long-term monogamy. What do you think causes that? Why do you think some people struggle?
Many reasons. Economic is one of them, but the biggest is the death of religion and the death of Christianity in the West. As America, I'll just talk about America. The UK is unfortunately far less churched than America. But as America has become less churched, so many of these social ills rise.
So one thing I would say, I study the evolution of behavior, in particular sexual romantic behavior. If you track all the different hunter-gatherer cultures that we can study, and we track how agriculture shapes things, you see that ecological conditions really reliably predict the prevalence of monogamy, certain marriage systems, and what I think is what we refer to as attachment issues. They seem to be an ecological calibration to an environment. In environments that are more unstable, it's less optimal for an individual to grow up with a tendency to rely on long-term pair bonds. And I think there's a mismatch with the modern world, again, coming back to industrialization. There are so many people who raise kids as absent parents. Daycare is massively linked to attachment issues. This then causes people to struggle the bond long term. And then again, coming back to the genetic part, there's again real research showing that especially vasopressin mutations and oxytocin mutations, some people really just do not have the proclivity for this.
What brings stability? Because you say stability is a good thing, and what would bring stability?
So first of all, I would say we had what you might consider stability in the previous century, and then it became unstable. And then things...
Why?
I'm saying because moral absolutism was imposed.
Moral absolutism was lost. You see, modernity rose. We started to teach our kids moral relativism, and we got rid of moral absolutes. So it's the opposite.
So why was it lost? Was it lost because people stopped pushing from top down?
Question to a close.
Why was it lost? That's a question for far smarter minds. I can only tell you that it was. In America, it's honestly one of the worst decisions, not just worst ideas ever, which is modern feminism, largely from Betty Friedan's feminist mystique, which acted as if every woman who's in a monogamous marriage in the States is in some sort of tyrannical environment. And it has led to...
Wait a second. I need to reanalyze just what he said.
Friedan's feminist critique, decisions, not just worst ideas ever, which is modern feminism.
Okay, so one of the worst ideas ever is modern feminism. We know he's a misogynist. That's not surprising.
Largely from Betty Friedan's feminist critique.
Betty was tyrannical. I want to find this quote. Find the exact quote. Of women's liberation. This is what I wanted to find. I wanted to find the year. Hold on. How is feminism an idea that in itself is misogynistic? Actually, that's a good point. Dan is so meticulous is why I love him. Well, I appreciate that. I'm trying because the problem with a lot of these pseudo intellectuals on the right is that they take one singular crumb of truth and then they put it into a petri dish and just sprinkle a bunch of lies, and then it just grows and manifests into something else. Bro's still in the 70s. It's 2025. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. My grandma read that book. The family believes it is the book that caused grandpa to leave her with 12 kids. While Betty Friedan is widely recognized for her significant contributions to the feminist movement, the term tyrannical is not typically associated with her. Okay, so I don't know what he's referencing. Are there any Charlie Kirk whisperers that know exactly what quote from Betty Friedan he's referencing?
Critique. Why was it lost? That's a question for far smarter minds. I can only tell you that it was. In America, it's honestly one of the worst decisions, not just worst ideas ever, which is modern feminism, largely from Betty Friedan's feminist mystique, which...
that's the name of the book. I thought he was being weird. The feminine mystique. Okay. Let's see. Let's get a synopsis. Widely credited for sparking second-wave feminism in the United States, Friedan used the book to challenge the widely shared belief that fulfillment as a woman had only one definition for an American woman after 1949, the housewife mother. That sounds... So far, nothing seems incorrect. In 1957, Friedan was asked to conduct a survey of her former Smith College classmates for their anniversary. The results, in which found that many of them were unhappy with their lives as housewives, prompted her to begin research for the feminine mystique, conducting interviews with other suburban housewives. Okay, synopsis. The feminine mystique begins... Wait, is the synopsis the whole thing? Is there like a plot, like a general... Feminine mystique summary. I just want to see, because so far it sounds pretty based. Critiques the societal expectations placed on women in the post-World War II era, arguing that the idea of feminine fulfillment through homemaking and motherhood is false and limiting construct. How... It is, yes, thank you. Yeah, wait, like it is. It's basically women's rights, is what he's saying. So, okay, so he's saying, okay, now that we know what the book is about. Okay, let's hear the sentence again.
Because people to teach our kids moral relativism, and we got rid of moral absolutes. So it's the opposite.
So why was it lost? Was it lost because people stopped pushing for top down?
Okay, so the question is, you know what would be so fucking cool if we had like a program where you put in like the claim, and then that branches out into like the follow-up question, and then the evidence for the claim, and then the debunk for the claim. I don't know. I'm if that's possible. That sounds like something that can be invented. Okay, so he's saying we lost moral relativism, right? And then so the student is asking, why did we lose moral relativism?
Why was it lost? That's a question for far smarter minds. I can only tell you that it was. In America, it's honestly one of the worst decisions, not just worst ideas ever, which is modern feminism.
Okay, so he's saying in America, one of the worst ideas ever is modern feminism, a claim debunking AI. No, well, not just a claim debunking AI. That's amazing, but also something that follows an argument. Because a lot of times, people just talk and then they go off track, and you have to like go back. Like, remember the guest we had before? And he was trying to say that, you're cherry picking Charlie when he said that the reason abortion should be illegal is because of a human life. And I was like, okay, yeah. But when asked, so like that claim is fine. So that claim has now closed. But then you ask the follow-up question, okay, so why do we value any human life, right? Why is a fetus a life worth valuing? And he said, magic. And that's where the app explodes. That's where you get an error message. So he said he couldn't answer it, then proceeds to ramble. Don't underestimate Kirk's intelligence. He chose to get rich defending wrong things. Okay. So he's saying one of the worst ideas ever is modern feminism. And let's hear his reasoning.
Largely from Betty Friedan's feminist mystique, which...
So this feminine mystique is the name. And he's saying that modern feminism is largely from the critique of Betty Friedan. Okay, so he's saying one of the worst ideas in American history is modern feminism. And the critique that he's referring to is that the societal expectations placed on women in the post-World War II era, arguing that the idea of feminine fulfillment through homemaking and motherhood is false and limiting construct. Anyone that is not a raging misogynist agrees with this. That women should have the choice to become homemakers or become mothers, but they should also have the choice to do whatever else they want. You didn't want feminism, don't go to war. So he's just a misogynist. Yeah, that's essentially what he's saying with this sentence. We broke it down. We had to break it down. So he used a lot of big words. What he should have said was, "I hate women," and then that we could have moved on. But instead, we had to go through all the look at this thing. All this stuff we have to go through just to realize, oh shit, he just doesn't like women. He doesn't like them having choices or free will.
Acted as if every woman who's in a monogamous marriage in the States is in some sort of tyrannical environment.
And we already looked up that this is an exaggeration. That's not how she characterizes it in the book. To the point where they even say the word tyrannical is not used. He's so threatened by us. We lost moral relativism because he hates that women have rights or something. Yes. So if you connect, thank you, Malik. If you connect the original claim, why we lost moral relativism. We don't know why, but one of the worst ideas ever is because women can work now, I guess.
And it has led to the women of the West being the most miserable, most depressed, most suicidal, most prescription drug addicted cohort on the planet. And I think we need to.
Okay. The women of the West are the most prescription drug addicted. Wait, I'm actually now, I'm so curious. I'm so curious. So pink shirt is me. Wait, hold on. Pink shirt needs some fame. For real. Let's all do class action on it. The black shirt is me. Oh god. Okay. What is the video called? This is Charlie Kirk plus Q&A/debate Cambridge Union. I'm sure if you just look up Charlie Kirk Cambridge Union, it'll come up. The dude with glasses. Honestly, everyone here is a mood. Let's be real. Everyone here is a mood. And we have a live for just watching audience reaction. I have a little Marco on top of Charlie's head. Obama? Who sent that? Kira, thank you so much for the hand heart. Now married 47 years. My husband has respect for women. W. Yeah, I'm with pink shirt. Yeah, me too.
Appropriately challenge feminism and tell young women that it's okay, in fact, it's courageous to get married and have children again. I think it would solve a lot of our problems.
Ladies in the chat, okay? I'm going to do a poll. Have any of you been told it is not okay to have children? Okay? I'm curious. I'm not a woman, so I can't share my lived experience. Laughing emoji if you've been told it is not okay to have children. Crying emoji otherwise. Laughing emoji if you've been told it is not okay to have children. If any of the 7 women who have been told it's not okay to have children would like to come up, I'm just genuinely curious about what's going on. Who are you talking to? Who is telling you this? $14? Told by whom? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I was one? Okay, hold on. Let's bring someone, because now I'm curious about his claim.
Hey.
Hi.
So, do I have an echo or am I okay?
Let me mute.
Okay, so for me, it's the context too, that comes with it. But for me, I was in an abusive marriage, so I have chosen to stay single, but I still want to be a parent, right? I have been told that I don't have that right or privilege because I want to be a single mom. So it comes into context, right? Like it's different. But that was technically where I was coming from, is that I was told I wasn't because I don't want to have a man, but I don't want to miss out on children. I'm 34 years old. It's not like I have a lot of time left to be dealing with all this. So yeah.
Yeah,
So it is
that's
context.
very, very important context there. We know that this isn't what Charlie's referring to because he's only for monogamous. Oh, I don't know if she dropped by mistake, but okay. I'm glad. I'm very glad she came up. Because I know straw man argument alert. Am I making the straw man or is Charlie making the straw man? You dropped. No, you're good. If you have more to say, you can definitely come up. Does mothers telling you count? I mean, if mothers are saying it's not okay for you to have children, I guess that does count. I mean, but I don't know what mothers are saying that.
My mom used to tell me that if I wanted to have my independence and like my freedom in life, to not have children. And I will say that from my mom's perspective, she got pregnant really, really young and raised a lot of kids. And grew up in poverty in Mississippi. And so I know growing up, my mom used to talk a lot about if you want to like have your independence and freedom as a woman to like never get married and never have any children. She never told me that I can't or that it would be bad for me to do so. She just had probably not a super positive view of what traditional marriage is.
Got you.
So I just
and so even
and
in
then
yeah.
So
No, I'm glad that we're getting some people's experiences for sure because the way he's phrasing it is that it's some kind of societal norm that women are being told that it's not okay to have children, and I mean that's so far I don't think that's either of what you or the last guest have said in context.
I grew up with a divorced parent, and so my mom was just going through that when I was a kid.
Oh, Taylor, I don't mean medically at all, and I don't, and Kirk doesn't mean medically as well. The claim he's making is that society's current culture pushes women in a direction where it is not okay to have children, and I'll replay the claim as well. My mom told me it was selfish of me to not have children. See that I know women in my life who have told that. My Mac. So like I have lived experiences of women who have been told that they need to have children, but I have not met anyone, I guess until today, of women who have been told it is not okay to have children.
My mom
told me I shouldn't have kids.
I would have a better life and I would have more freedom if I had chosen not to have kids. Because it does take such a toll on women. And I think that's more what she was getting at talking about when I was a kid. My mom loves her grandchildren. Like that's not.
Republicans make it tough to support our kids. Oh yeah, for sure. I do think, okay, I will say, I do think there is a difference between pushing someone to not have a kid versus reminding someone how hard it is to have kids right now. To raise children right now. Like the person that commented said, like, we don't have universal health care, right? Do you know, I think to raise a child, well, what is the average cost to raise a child in the United States?
A lot.
Not even childbirth. We'll just put that aside. That's like 10K or whatever, which is a lot. But like, how much does it cost to raise a child from birth to 18? Cost of raising a child from birth to 18 can range from $202,000 to $414,000. And that's from AI, but let's see. According to USDA data, average cost of $331,000 for one kid. This is not counting college. Not counting college.
For both my kids, before they started kindergarten, we were spending $3,000 a month on childcare. For daycare full time for 2 kids.
Okay. Hey, Falcon. What's going on?
Right. I actually am leaving a date with my boyfriend.
Oh. I
He's
hope we're not
dropping me
interrupting.
Oh, no. He has to go to work in the morning, so he's taking me home. He just dropped me off at the house.
Well,
We were listening to you in the car.
well, say hi if he's oh, he just dropped you off, so it's already too late. Appreciate you for coming up. Did you have anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, no, I'm probably too drunk to really be up talking about
All right, Falcon. Well, you have a great night. Date night with Dan. Dan's third wheeling. Okay. Yeah. I think the best way, if Charlie Kirk, here's the thing. Charlie Kirk and Republicans want women to have more children. We know this. If they really wanted to do that, it's not by attacking feminism, and it's not by attacking women that want careers. It's by making it more affordable to have children. And you know how you do that? Social programs. You know how you do that? Universal health care. You know how you do that? Tuition-free colleges. Oh, you know how you do that? Accessible women's health care. Accessible, comprehensive women's health care. That's how you do that. Not this pity 5,000 they want to try. Yeah. Universal preschool. Yes, that's another good one. Accessible daycare is another good one. Paid maternity leave and not firing them for having kids. Yeah, some countries even have paternity leave so that the father can be home with the child. I think that's awesome if we can swing it. But the fact that we don't even have universal maternity leave. We don't have a universal maternity leave. Hold on, 1 second. We don't have universal maternity leave, but we want women to have more kids. Make that make sense. US is literally the worst with benefits. 100%. It's so bad. They think helping people is wasteful. Yeah. Well, because otherwise Elon Musk won't be able to have his 7th yacht. Have you thought about Elon Musk? Will anyone think about Elon Musk? What happened to tariffs paying for childcare? Yo, Julie is not exaggerating. That was his answer. What are you going to do to lower the cost of childcare in this country? He opens with, well, childcare is childcare. You have to have it. And then he starts talking about how the numbers we're talking about for childcare are nothing compared to what we're going to make with the tariffs. And then I think he may have mentioned Arnold Palmer's penis. I don't remember. That might have been a different moment. This was before an election that he won, by the way. Okay, we're going to go back to the video. I can't. Yes, I did hear about that, Taylor.
Well, I've been told to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next question is from Tilly Middlehurst at Fitzwilliam College.
So I'm a feminist.
W.
My question is about the role of women, though. What should women's role in public and private life look like, and what are the material benefits of that?
Well, thank you for that. Can I take it? I don't really want to take this detour, but can we both agree on what a woman is?
Yes. An adult human female. It's a biological state.
Hang on 1 second. Is there a reason that he pivoted that hard? What did she say? Did she bring up trans people at all?
Public and private life look like, and what are the material benefits? My question is about the role of women, though. What should women's role in public and private life look like, and what are the material benefits of that?
Well, thank you.
What should the role of women's private life look like, and what are the material benefits of that? Her saying she's a feminist. Yeah, he got triggered by the word woman. That literally, right? Like I had to rewatch it because I thought I missed something. I thought I missed her mention LGBTQ or something. No, he just heard the word woman. He's like, so, bro. Oh, this guy's wealthy. This guy's famous.
For that, can I take it? I don't even want to take this detour, but can we both agree on what a woman is?
Yes. An adult human female, it's a biological state of being that is also socially experienced. Can I please elucidate just one example of that social experience?
Yeah, I was going to answer your question, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So let's say you're a member of a tribe, and that in that tribe, you have the biological female anatomy, and in order to become a woman in that tribe, you have to also get a tattoo. That's a social experience that's mapped onto biological reality.
So can a woman have a prostate?
Can a woman have a prostate? Biologically speaking, a woman is an adult human female that has a biological reality, but it's also social experience, right? So I don't...
Yeah, it's super easy. Like, can a woman have a prostate?
So as per my definition of woman, I would say that people who have a prostate are biologically male, but they can sometimes be socially treated as women.
Okay, got it. So women can have prostates. Got it. Okay.
Thank you, Jack Nissel. Thank you. Can we talk about everyone is a female at conception, LOL? That's the question he asks purposefully because his base will dismiss anything she says after this answer. That makes sense. She gives him the Royal Smackdown. Good, I'm excited because that pivot to me is so insane. And what that commenter said is 100% right. He's asking it for a reason. Because no matter how she answers it, by the way, no matter how she answers it, his base is going to eat it up. Eat up him asking that. And also are going to dismiss however she answers it. Like, see? She's stepping really close to the turf line, though. Yes, I also noticed that. Like she's recognizing the difference between societal and biological, but the way she phrased it, I agree with you on that. And obviously, Emmy, you know better than I would. I'll have to go back and watch this from the beginning. This is so good already.
So you're a feminist that actually isn't just fighting for women. You're also.
Should we go back and watch? She shouldn't have answered it. Yeah, no, that I agree with. I think she should have just been like, okay, so are we pivoting? What's the situation? We have a limited time, right? You know what she should have done? She should have asked if she gets extra time. How far are you in the time mark? An hour and 10 minutes. She should have asked if she gets extra time for answering that question. And if not, she should be like, all right, well, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to talk about what I came up to talk about. She's an internationally ranked debater. Okay, I'm excited. It didn't matter what she asks, just because she's a woman, he is going to discount her. His fans accused her of using ChatGPT because she was so good. Oh, yes. This is like when they said Kamala had the earrings. Well, when a woman cooks, they can't take it. They have to come up with something. They can't handle being emasculated. What was I going to say? Should we do another stream where we react to me reacting to this? Remember Twitch and YouTube chat, Dan? Oh shit, Twitch and YouTube chat. I haven't looked at you guys in so long. I'm so sorry. Okay, we're gonna continue the video in 45 seconds. If the video's not if I don't press play in 45 seconds, unfollow me. Okay, Twitch and YouTube chat. Let's not forget Cambridge is on Turf Island. That's fair. Hey, Machinations, and tax the rich. Oh, that's from the previous thing. Yeah, I mean, taxing the rich leads to us having all of those things that make it easier to have children in this country. Okay, if you're here for the first time, thank you so much for joining. We're live Thursdays to Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern, doing live political debates, political discussions, and fact checks. We also try to be live for all major political events. So if you like this content, drop a follow, tap the screen. For anybody that's gifted so far, thank you so much. But nobody has to gift, nobody has to sub. All I'm asking is that you double check that you're following. There should be a little orange heart or red or a gray heart next to my name. If you see a red oval, that means you're not following. Hit the follow button. Also, just in case TikTok gets banned, make sure you're following on the YouTube and Twitch. We are live on all 3 platforms right now. And I got 5 seconds to spare. Everything's computer.
Fighting for men.
Come on, man. Yes, yeah. Men also experience harms from patriarchy, but I argue...
We're talking about the same feminism, though, just make sure. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So men also experience harm from patriarchal domination, but I would argue that those harms come from that system of domination itself. In the same way, for example, this isn't a threat, but if I reached across and punched you in the face, then my hand might hurt, right? So are we understanding that there are, patterns of power? So I would also fight for the rights of men as a feminist, just as I would fight for the rights of women.
Sure. You think women are happier than they were 40 years ago?
I think I would have a few responses to that. I think that women report more stress and dissatisfaction today because, not because they have more rights or because of feminism, but because they're under dual pressure to both excel professionally and also because of the domestic labor in homes that is structured around outdated expectations. So for example, studies like the OECD's Better Life Index show that women's life expectancy, education levels, professional achievements have risen in countries with higher gender inequality. So I would argue that what you're calling unhappiness is actually visibility, because now we hear women expressing dissatisfaction, whereas in the 50s, we prescribed them Valium and we lobotomized.
Yeah. That's really rich. I didn't know women not to complain 50 years ago. That's funny. So, no, hold on a second. Why are suicide rates going up more for women?
I think that
Forget complaining. Materially, women are killing themselves more. Why is that?
I think that even if both men and women have become unhappier, men's suicide rates have risen as well, and that's also been exponential. Can you at least concede that feminism offers only one potential explanation? There could be also other explanations.
Of course, obviously, but feminism is the glaring thing in front of us, where we have fertility rates down, we have marriage rates down, we have unhappiness up, and we did something in the 1960s out of the universities of Bretty Friedan and Gloria Steinem and all these feminists that basically said, you're trapped in a home, go get a job, freeze your eggs, take birth control, and all of a sudden women are way unhappier than they were 40 years ago. And I just have to ask the question, why is that? Is it working? And maybe there are biological differences between men and women that we should respect, and that deep down a lot of women want to get married and have children. In fact, we should applaud it, and we should support it, and we should say it means nothing if you're gonna go be a CEO of some shoe company or be some banker in London. What matters if you raise children and you have something to pass down long after you're gone.
I think I would bring 2 points to that. The first one is just really simple, which is that you can ascribe liberalism.
Wait. Everyone look at the guy behind her on the right. Look at his face.
Pass down long after you're gone.
I think I would bring 2 points to that. The first one is just really simple, which is that you can ascribe liberalism all you want as the cause of the unhappiness. I would argue something else. I would say that it's certain economic policy that has very little to do with the social acceptance of alternative lifestyles. I would say that we can recognize that income inequality across a vast swathe of Western countries has increased, which causes all kinds of social ills, a lack of social cohesion, housing price growth doesn't correspond with wage growth, monopolies increasingly become kind of emboldened to interfere with politics, and monopolies don't prioritize social health either. I think that those offer more compelling reasons for a decline in happiness than an increase in freedoms, because just one more thing, on an intuitive basis, generally speaking, people want more freedom, not less.
Okay, so if that's true, why is it, do you agree that the happiest women in the West are married with kids?
I would have to look into it, but I think there are certain
and objectively we know.
I love that he completely ignored all of what she said. But holy shit. That was really, really good. I just did a standing ovation. This is why the ChatGPT allegations. What's her name? She's awesome. Yeah, can someone said that she's on TikTok. Wait, let's pull her up. Where did you find the whole debate? It's on YouTube. Cambridge Union. She talks so fast and so much truth. As a reminder, chat, we are watching at 1.25x. So she's talking fast, but not that fast. I'll send you the vid, Dan. Okay. Tilly. Her name is Tilly. Forget the page I saw her earlier. He has no answers that are off script.
Know that, right? The women with kids are not the ones tearing down statues, right? They're the ones that actually have obligations.
Does tearing down statues correspond to some kind of smiles per capita data set that I wasn't aware of?
Again, it's a little bit of a one-liner. The happy and the grateful. The happy and the grateful usually don't go burn down Wendy's in their...
Wait, were his legs always in that position? Hold on. I gotta check something. Where are we at? 114?
They're the ones that actually have obligations.
Does tearing down statues correspond to some kind of smiles per capita data set that I wasn't aware of?
Again, it's a little bit of a one-liner. The happy and the grateful. The happy and the grateful usually don't go burn down Wendy's in their spare time, which we saw in our country all throughout a single summer. But as a side note, you would agree objectively.
The amount of rage I feel when he said the word grateful. The happy and the grateful. Excuse you. What do women have to be grateful for? Why do women need to be grateful? And to who? That like actually triggered me. Like not unironically. He said grateful.
Tearing down statues correspond to some kind of smiles per capita data set that I wasn't aware of?
Again, it's a little bit of a one-liner. The happy and the grateful. The happy and the grateful usually don't go burn down Wendy's in their spare time, of which we saw in our country all throughout a single summer. But as a side note, you would agree, objectively, study after study, survey after survey, that the women of the West that are married and have children, especially a lot of children, are far happier than even the ones that earn more money correlated at the same age.
So I also don't think that happiness is a very good metric, and neither do you, because you think gay people shouldn't just pursue happiness by being gay. They have other moralistic considerations to be making. So I don't think smiles per capita is a particularly convincing way to measure whether or not we should encourage women to be autonomous. I think we should maximize agency within a fair system that has reasonable parameters because it's expedient, it's good for the economy, it's
we got a warning for making people uncomfortable, but the content makes people uncomfortable. I have to assume it's Charlie Kirk's face. There's no other explanation. Chat. Okay, listen. I don't want the live to get banned, so don't restart. That's the only option. I'm not gonna. We'll restart at the same timestamp. Okay, everyone. There's 598 of you in here. Make sure you're following. Right. You have your notifications on, all that shit. Okay. I'm gonna restart. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I will be back in 30 seconds. Might be the speed. Wait, why would the speed make people uncomfortable? What's your go-to food order? That's too general. Hers is hamburgers. It's his stance for sure. Smart women make people uncomfy. We're grateful upon your turn. Okay. I will see all 600 of you in 10 seconds. YouTube and Twitch, I love you guys. Hi. You guys are still here. This is like secret time. Only you guys can hear me. TikTok can't. She just said that was creepy. Great stream, Dan. Thank you, Jojo. TikTok smells bad? Wait, who said that? Oh, wait, no, I need to... Fuck. Oh, I need to not have that up. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to get started very, very shortly. But all my likes are still there. For now, once it reconnects, I think it's going to erase. Sorry. Yeah, it's gone. New here. Hey, Whitney. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to reset. While we're waiting for everybody to come back, well, 11K, I want a refund. While we're waiting for everybody to come back, I'm going to reset the gift goal to cowboy hats because somebody sent the cowboy hat earlier, and like the whole... it was the debater and the three people behind her got or I think it was a man at the time, but the three people behind the debater got cowboy hats, and I thought that was really funny. So give me a second. That was longer than 10, Dan. Was it? Okay. That's done. So grateful to be back. All right, welcome back, everybody. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go back a little bit so that the people that aren't back yet won't be upset that they missed anything, but at least you guys aren't just sitting here in silence. I have to go to bed, gotta work in the morning. Good night, Dan. Good night, Emmy. Just enough time to grab ice cream. They don't call him 10-second Dan for no reason. Wait, how were you able to comment when you got blocked? I'm kidding. Tiny human. No, we just... How's the video been so far? It's been good. And I think we're at the climax because she is absolutely cooking. Okay, I'm going to go back like a minute, and I'm going to hope that 300 people show up. No, excuse me, 400 people show up because there were 600 people in here when I got that warning. Y'all don't forget it's Memorial Day tomorrow. You might be off of work. Wait, are there people that forget they're off of work? Hey, Dean. Did I just hear Matt gasp at the sound of ice cream? She really loves ice cream. Like, to like an unhealthy extent.
it's a little bit of a one-liner. The happy and the grateful. The happy and the grateful usually don't go burn down Wendy's in their spare time, of which we saw in our country all throughout a single summer. But as a side note, you would agree, objectively, study after study, survey after survey, that the women of the West that are married and have children, especially a lot of children, are far happier than even the ones that earn more money correlated at the same age.
So I also don't think that happiness is a very good metric, and neither do you, because you think gay people shouldn't just pursue happiness by being gay. They have other moralistic considerations to be making. So I don't think smiles per capita is a particularly convincing way to measure whether or not we should encourage women to be autonomous. I think we should maximize agency within a fair system that has reasonable parameters because it's expedient, it's good for the economy, it's logical, it's moral thing, because if we can't prove the material harms, we shouldn't discourage it. And also self-reported studies is a really flawed way to do psychology.
Oh, Brittany, thank you, but you have to do it when it's a close-up, and then I think it hits them all. I appreciate that, though.
It's the week before my university exams right now, and I'm standing here explaining the basic methodology behind survey collection in sociology, which you don't even think is a real subject, to Charlie Kirk. If I took one of those surveys right now, I'd check extremely miserable, but so would a Palestinian child who's been torn to smithereens. How are we going to measure?
You would say extremely miserable?
No, I'm kind of making a joke.
No, I mean, but seriously, like, but hold on. I mean, like, that's an important point, though, is that the women of the West have it the best in the world, and yet they're way unhappier than women of sub-Saharan Africa. There's something fundamentally wrong here, because the women of sub-Saharan Africa have something that a lot of women in the West do not have. The women in the West have cats, and they have good jobs, and the women of sub-Saharan Africa, they have a belief in the divine, and they have kids. And maybe there's a biological undercurrent that is keeping a lot of women from realizing...
Okay. You know what? We're fact-checking this. Happiness in sub-Saharan Africa. He doesn't understand that she's miserable because of him. Mapped. Happiness levels across Africa. What are these rated against? I don't even... Hold on. Why Africa is less happy than the rest of the world. From Africa News. I'm super curious where he got bro just speedrunning offending people. I'm curious where he got this information. He's looking for keywords to use against her.
Their full potential. And so without reading your phone and just, like, you know, connecting...
I'm not really reading my phone.
Well, it's fine. Sure, then you can answer without it. Fair enough. Would you agree that it's a good thing that more women get married and have children in the West?
Look up women. With that... yes! Whitney, thank you so much for the hat and mustache. I mean, okay. Women... I just want to know where he's getting this at. Most people wouldn't know about people in some other land to be able to debate it. Just 27%, this is a Gallup poll, just 27% of women in South Africa said they felt safe walking alone at night. That doesn't sound particularly happy to me. Dan, he's lying. No, okay, Malik. His lips are moving, so I know he's lying. The question is, where did the lie start? Because so far we've been able to find the kernel that the lie grew from. Is this just a pulled out of his rectal cavity lie? Them too. What does women's empowerment look like? Okay, this sounds like something that he... 90% of women enroll. Okay. You're thinking he's looking these things up, Dan. He made it up most likely. In picture, an image in tab. He's lying on things he hopes people know nothing about. AI says African married women happier than unmarried women. But that's not happier than American women, though. Because that's what the claim is that he's making is. The claim he's making is that women in sub-Saharan Africa are happier than women in the West. Because women in the West are out finding jobs, whereas women in sub-Saharan Africa are more likely to be married with kids. That's the claim he's making. Yeah, because they work together to find food and gas. Finland has the happiest women because of equality and freedom. Yeah. Yeah. So like the happiest people on earth are in like Finland, Sweden, Nordic countries that are social democracies that have very strong social safety nets. More than likely it's because they have to be. Everything online says the opposite. Yeah, I just don't. Like, this is the first time where I genuinely think, like, this is just a, like, pants on fire lie. Like, all the other things have been, like, misinterpretations or bending the truth or, like, a kernel of truth but then a bunch of lies. This is just a lie. This is just made up. This is not borne out in any of the, in anything that we're seeing. Many of the happiest countries are also the best for women. Well, commonality between sub-Saharan Africa and American women is number one killer is male partner.
I would ask you, would you say that a sub-Saharan African woman who's experienced female genital mutilation and checks extremely happy in a survey, and I also would check extremely happy in a survey, who do you think would be objectively more happy, even if they both check the same answer?
No, okay, so I fully, if you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long.
That's not what she's talking about.
Okay, good. So we agree.
Absolutely, we agree on many things.
I don't know. I don't know why he pivoted like that. He just ignored her point completely. Just needed to. It's almost like he takes side quests against like the people he hates, right? Like she was like, "Hey, so I want to talk about women and whatever," and he's like, "Whoa, what is a woman? I hate trans people." And then she's like, and then she's talking about the comparisons between female genital mutilation and an American woman and they both check happy, and he says, "So we're gonna talk about Muslims, right?" Like, bro.
Who's experienced
female that more women get married and have children in the West.
I would ask you, would you say that a sub-Saharan African woman who's experienced female genital mutilation and checks extremely happy in a survey, and I also would check extremely happy in a survey, who do you think would be objectively more happy, even if they both check the same answer?
No, okay, so I fully, if you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long. Like, I'm all for that.
Me too.
Okay, good. So we agree.
Absolutely,
we actually
we agree on many things.
Then we should shut off Muslim immigration to the UK, right? We totally agree.
I think that all religious fundamentalism is bad, and if you take that logic, we should also not allow evangelical Christians into the UK either.
Hold on a second. Hold on. That's funny. Hold on. Can you show me what would your example, because I have 50, of a single Christian country that you would say mistreats women, right?
America.
Oh, really?
Come on, man.
I mean, okay, so first of all, the timing of the "come on, man" was amazing. Second of all, I do not know how he did not expect that answer. We have a woman's corpse being treated as an incubator right now. How did he think that she was not going to reply with the United States? Holy shit. And yeah, we are going to clip the four hats. We'll clip it.
Because I have 50 of a single Christian country that you would say mistreats women, right?
America.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We had a female woman vice president. We had a
female woman vice president. And just like he said before, ladies, just like he said before, y'all should be happy and grateful. We had a female woman vice president. Doesn't matter that you can't control your bodies anymore. We had a female woman vice president. Yeah, and Max said, and we dragged her every day of the week.
President, a female Speaker of the House, women earn more than men in America.
In Rwanda, female representation in government supersedes the UK by quite a lot. Do women get treated better in Rwanda?
Okay, I might be super off this. Like, is Rwanda Islamic? Like, I'm not totally sure. I don't think it is. Like, is it? Like, I don't know, actually. It's not. So, again, we were talking about Islam. It's a little bit of a side note, but you must be morally clear, because you brought up female genital mutilation, which is a teaching of the Islamic faith. But as a side note, like, again, this is very important, which is, I'm not here to...
Turn like a pretzel.
The bow. Whitney, thank you so much. Notice that how he refers to it as Islam, where she talks about religious fundamentalism. He will criticize the entirety of Islam, but won't recognize that there's a difference between fundamentalism and a religion. Because if he did, then he would have to apply the same standard to Christianity.
Require you to do anything or not. I'm making a simple observation, which is objectively true regardless. The women of the West are miserable, and they're miserable for a reason, because we've told them to suppress how they are made by God and pursue something else.
Oh shit, wait. I've been so like this, I guess, jaded. No. I've been so desensitized to the stupid stuff he said. Did this man say that women make more than men in America? When did that happen?
That's a damn lie.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Thank you, ShamWow. What the fuck?
Observation, which is objectively true regardless. The women of the West are miserable, and they're miserable for a reason.
That's a damn
because we
lie.
told them to suppress how they are made by God and pursue something else and get a bunch of trinkets and get a bunch of promotions, and they end up at 38 years old with a big flat in London, and they're miserable. And we should tell them to stop freezing their eggs and start finding their partner earlier and have lots of babies.
Yeah, okay, I think I'd bring two just final points to this. First one is just really intuitive, right? Which is that if you actually care about women's happiness, then the solution is to structurally support them. That means universal childcare.
Wait a second.
Why are you running?
Whitney, thank you for the garland. Wait a second, chat. I know what he did. He debunked himself. Oh my, no, he's good. He debunked himself from an argument he made a half an hour ago. Okay? His argument a half an hour ago was that college is a scam, right? But when he says women make more money, I think what he means is that he's not comparing women and men in the same field, in the same position. Because we all of us know that a woman in the same field, in the same position as a man, on average, obviously not every time, on average make less. The stat he's using is that women in the workplace make more money because women are more educated, thereby debunking his previous argument that college is a scam. We did it. We came full circle.
Shared legally enforceable parental leave, and in Nordic countries where women have high workforce participation and also some state support, they report higher life satisfaction than in more conservative countries, including America. So if your metric is happiness,
just use satisfaction surveys. You told me they're BS.
So are satisfaction surveys bullshit or not? Because you told me they're bullshit.
Do you acknowledge satisfaction surveys or not? You just told me that they're BS. Do you think they're objective? We can use that as data?
I don't think that
yes or no?
is the only.
Wait. Okay. Okay. It's 12:41. Where's the nearest place I can find traffic? Because I need to go play. So happiness surveys, good. Empirical metric for how we determine that women should be having babies. Satisfaction surveys, bullshit. A complete poppycock.
Sole data set, but it is a data set that
you told me there's a flaw and you self-report. Okay, by the macro self-satisfaction data, I am correct. And you are right. When you have paid family leave, you are happier. I'm actually a proponent of that. At Turning Point USA, we pay for 6 months when somebody has a child. I think there's a lot of agreement we can have on that. We need to encourage having more children. I think the Hungarian child policy is phenomenal. We should look at that because the greatest thing that is plaguing the West is we're not having enough kids. And it's not just bad because we won't have a future. It's also bad because the present is awfully miserable for too many women as well.
Okay, in which case I think we get...
Do I start bringing this to a close, please?
Okay, I think just one final thing, which is that in which case we get to a really interesting argument about what parts of womanhood can be demarcated to the social and what kinds of womanhood can be demarcated to the biological. So, for example, my anatomy is demarcated to the biological. But the fact that I might potentially be a better nurturer than a man, I would demarcate that to the social. You might demarcate that to the biological, in which case we have differing moral scales of value. I would ask why we should necessarily prioritize your moral scale of value, which prioritizes things like the birth rate, when in actual fact there are various other moral scales of value. And if you yourself are a free market American, why is it the case that you would not, like the previous speaker noted, extend personal freedom towards all spheres, including a private sphere?
I believe in absolute truth claims, and it's absolutely wrong and bad when a society stops having kids to replace their own population. And then you have to import the third world and you become the third world.
How does he do it? He's a master of his class. How is he able? In a statement about feminism, he took a jab at trans people. a statement about comparisons between happiness in Africa and the United States. He took a jab at Islam. And now, when we're talking about women having children, he took a jab at immigrants. I mean, there's got to be some kind of award we can give him. Whatever he's doing, he's really good at it. These hateful side quests. Bigotry speedrun. Yes, the any percent bigotry speedrun. Oh, God.
It's bad.
I disagree, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And
The
final
Weave
question
Junior
that we've got
Achiever.
time for today is from Sammy McDonald from St. John's College.
Oh, yeah, I've seen clips of this kid.
Good evening, Mr. Kirk. You've obviously devoted a lot of your life to electing, keeping in power Donald Trump, and you did so partly because you said Trump would put Americans first and take them out of foreign conflicts. Should we see how that is going at the moment? Currently, Trump has just accepted a $400 million debt from Qatar, which we're assured is perfectly above board. Billions in arms are going to Saudi Arabia, which they're using to bomb and starve Yemeni children. Not sure how that's in the interest of the United States, but it might be in the interest of the $5.5 billion deal his failed sons are receiving. At the same time, this great president of peace has greenlit mass killings not just in Yemen, but in Gaza, where he greenlit an invasion called Operation Gideon's Chariot with the express aim of wiping out the Gazan population. You promised to put America first. Haven't you and your ilk sold America out?
Oh my God, I feel his rage. Look at his hands.
Promised to put America first. Haven't you and your ilk sold America out?
He's mad, and rightfully.
No.
Well, I'm glad you have great intellectual substance and can answer. Because it's all the culture wars for you, isn't it? The second someone actually tells you what you're doing, which is red.
Can you calm down a little bit? Like, just a little bit. Pounding the table, you're all over the place.
Not tone policing to stall for an answer. Bro, address what he's saying. He provided so many different claims that you can address.
You talk about extreme.
Thank you, little clown. Thank you, Whitney.
No. You want me to go piece by piece, or would you like me to talk slower?
I think you can.
Number one, Donald Trump is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Joe Biden gave them armaments.
Going well, isn't it?
It's going well. Can you not interrupt me?
Well.
I allowed you to talk uninterrupted.
You're famous for not interrupting.
Yeah, I haven't interrupted a single person here today. Can I speak on?
Whoa! Whoa! Wait, chat. I think we might have found the video. We're gonna play him say that. We're gonna play him saying that, and then we're just gonna do a montage of every person he interrupted. I think that's the clip. Wait, hold on. His self-debunk would be a good video too. Oh yeah, the self-debunk for sure.
Uninterrupted, actually. He is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. I believe we will see an end to that war. Number two, he's actually talking to Iran and discouraging Israel to strike the interior of Iran, and has stopped many other international countries to do the same. Number three, can you give him credit for ending the Indian-Pakistan war?
Both of them said he didn't do that.
Well, hold on a second.
Let's go back.
No, that's important.
Russia, Ukraine.
Hold on, that's important.
The India-Pakistan war. The day after they agreed to a ceasefire, they broke it. Yes. Yes. That's number one. Number two, to call what was taking place. What was taking place 2 weeks ago a war, but not that would mean we would have to also call their entire history a war, or like the their extended history a war, and Donald Trump did not end the tensions between India and Pakistan.
Can I speak now?
Yes, but the Indian-Pakistan thing, you got to go deeper than that.
Let's go in order. Is a peace summit where the main person in question, Russia, doesn't show up, is that a success, Mr. Kirk?
Well, I'm not even sure.
A success?
Well, again, these are ongoing negotiations, and it's a lot better than when your Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, went alongside our Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, to Istanbul and unnecessarily blew up a potential Russian peace deal, which has resulted in hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians, one of the great unnecessary wars of the modern era. Donald Trump...
We looked this up. This is an insane exaggeration. The idea that Boris Johnson went in and said, no.
Come on, man.
No peace deals. Is like, I mean, we can do another fact check if you guys want. I kind of want to get through the video, but like that's a huge exaggeration of what took place.
Believes in conversation and police boot through strength. He has been president for well over 120 to 130 days, and he has already ended a war between two nuclear conflicts of India-Pakistan. He has...
Wait, was he bragging about how long Trump's still been alive?
The modern era. Donald Trump believes in conversation and police boot through strength. He has been president for well over 120 to 130 days, and he has already ended a war between two nuclear conflicts of India-Pakistan. He has secured our own U.S. southern border while we were being invaded by foreign powers. And thirdly, he is brokering a potential settlement with Iran that will prevent a major escalation in the Middle East. And finally, it is very difficult, but I believe they'll get it done, that will finally see an end to the Russian-Ukrainian war.
I'm just going to disregard the enormous lies you just put out there about Russia and Ukraine. Okay. But do you really think leverage, negotiations work if you cut off all your leverage and scream at one party in the Oval Office? Don't you think that has just emboldened Russia? Because look at the approach. Putin thinks so much of your glorious president, he can't even be asked to show up. You have elected, or help elect, somebody who is at best an idiot and at worst is deeply corrupt.
Okay, again, so Trump and Putin had a 2-hour phone call today. You'll acknowledge that's a good thing. The pursuit of peace can sometimes be a winding road, and it's a lot better than sending hundreds of billions of dollars further into the killing fields of eastern Ukraine, something that tragically both the UK government and the US government has been unnecessarily supporting for a couple of years. President Trump wants to see a brokerage, an ending of this settlement. I pray we can get it. It's very complicated because of the mess that Joe Biden left, which was an active kinetic war with a nuclear power sending American-made missiles into the interior of Russia. So President Trump has already ended a war. He's ended an invasion. He's only 130 days into this, and I believe we do not know. At this point, we are merely speculating, which I think we should not spend our time doing that, because eventually one of us will be right. I believe we'll be right, and I believe we'll see an end to this war.
Can we just talk about 100?
I'm so sorry. I know we're talking about like really important topics here. How do you find the full link? It's from the Cambridge Union. I know this is like super important. I really don't want to interrupt. There's a lot of lies for us to talk about. I was just handed empty Haagen-Dazs ice cream container. For those of you that have a Publix near you, Haagen-Dazs is buy one, get one free right now. This entered the room full. Full. Hold on. For those of you that are saying that, you know, like, yeah, it's a lot, but that's okay. We had ice cream before the live. We had ice cream. A different flavor of Haagen-Dazs. I don't know how, like, WDIV. I just don't get it. Let me tell you why I don't get it, okay? Like, I can see her ribs, okay? Very thin. If I did this, I would be Donald Trump shaped. Like, within days. God forbid a girl has a hobby. You are making her sit through Charlie Kirk. The ice cream is much needed. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but I only ate 1.5. Girl dinner. Clearly, the ice cream evaporated. Listen, it's ice cream. You got to give it to her. All right, we're sorry. We're gonna. Life is too short. More like talent. My damn phone unalived at the best part. Mac, is he bothering you? Fact check Dan of the ice cream mystery. Dan, look at Twitch, please. Support Ben and Jerry's. We do when it's when we can. When it's BOGO. We get whatever's BOGO at Publix. We're the word is frugal. Okay, what's going on Twitch? Wait. Gift bomb? What's a gift bomb? Brother, look at this chat. Oh my god. Yo Toto, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I hope you're still here. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that I keep neglecting Twitch. Frugal isn't in my vocabulary. The fact that there isn't the nail the what is it? The nail emoji? Is that what they call it? The manicure emoji? What do they call it? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I just typed nails. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Frugal isn't in my vocabulary, and then with the nails. The one in my name, yeah. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I'm sorry. I needed to. I just needed to process. Mac is innocent. Okay, I am gonna go back just a little bit. Mac, is he bothering you, Queen? Can you wait? Is the mic picking her up? I object to dance remarks against ice cream. A little, okay. Well, I need to know if I can misrepresent what she's saying or not. Okay.
We've been unnecessary of Eastern Ukraine road, and it's a lot better than sending a call today. You'll acknowledge that's a good thing. The pursuit of peace can sometimes be a winding road, and it's a lot better than sending hundreds of billions of dollars further into the killing fields of Eastern Ukraine, something that tragically both the UK government and the US government has been unnecessarily supporting for a couple of years. President Trump wants to see a brokerage, an ending of this settlement. I pray we can get it. It's very complicated because of the mess that Joe Biden left, which was an active kinetic war with a nuclear power sending American-made missiles into the interior of Russia. So President Trump has already ended a war. He's ended an invasion. He's only 130 days into this, and I believe, we do not know. At this point, we are merely speculating, which I think we should not spend our time doing that, because eventually one of us will be right. I believe we'll be right, and I believe we'll see an end to this war.
Can we just talk about 100 billions worth of weapons? Because you dodged my question on what was going on in the Middle East, where Trump has just signed enormous arms contracts with Saudi Arabia and with Qatar. And I noticed you ignored the fact that this might have had anything to do with the blatant corruption going on through the Trump coin and going on through giving the very competent sons of Donald Trump billions of investment from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This is something that is directly embroiling Americans into conflict, but is importantly killing many innocent people. Those nations have been known to terrorize innocent civilian populations. So if you're coming to me and you're objecting to America selling weaponry, why are you defending shilling for the Saudis?
Well, hold on. One is sending weaponry, one is purchasing. Secondly, you do know that the biggest purchase that was announced was commercial airliner, 737, $100 billion. You've heard of Qatar Airways. They purchased $100 billion of commercial airways. You are right, there were some weapons contracts. But I guess the question is, would you rather have Saudi Arabia buy weapons from America or China?
I'd rather they not have American weaponry at cut price rates.
See, I disagree.
Let's talk about Qatar for a second.
Okay, fine.
You mentioned Qatar. You've been talking a lot about Hamas and the evils of Hamas. Can I ask you, who's the main funder of Hamas?
Well, the Palestine. Well, the West actually funds Hamas.
Which state?
Well, Iran funds.
No. Where are the Hamas leaders?
And also Qatar funds Hamas. It is a combination of international relief organizations.
Is this a state which should have a $400 million jet with the President of the United States on it?
Hold on. First of all, it was not given to him personally. I understand the optics of it, but it was not given to him personally. It was given to the U.S. government. And under that standard, no U.S. government should ever receive any gifts from any foreign countries whatsoever. It's not given to him personally and not a violation of the.
Then why is he trying to transfer it to his personal library?
He is actually okay. Again, he sent out a statement. This is way too in the weeds. If you want to keep on going, we can.
It's a fundamental moral principle.
Okay, so under that fundamental moral principle, then, can you acknowledge, though, that President Trump is getting more done in a less period of time than any president we've seen, while our prior president did not even know what year he got elected? You understand the contrast here?
What about him again?
I love that. So we want to compare Trump's accomplishments, and I'm using that in quotes, right, to vibes. That's essentially what he did. Rather than talk about like, oh well, these are the things that Biden could have done but didn't. Biden's old. Okay, but let's go back to those accomplishments. He's claiming that we're working towards an agreement between Ukraine and Russia, but we're ignoring that he promised to get this done on day one. He's also happy, right? He's what's the word? He's congratulating Trump for ending the conflict between he calls it a war, the conflict between India and Pakistan, even though both those countries said Trump had nothing to do with ending that. But he also has no problem with continuing to do business with the countries that are funding Hamas, which is okay, all right.
I'm not a defender of Biden.
No, I'm not saying President Trump is far better.
You have to defend the person you spent millions.
I will defend every day of someone who ends an invasion.
That's all you do.
Who brings down the price of oil, who is revitalizing the American economy,
Come on,
who's
man.
brokering peace, who stopped the potential nuclear war, who is bringing Iran to the table, and
I'm getting to my limit, chat. We're getting close. I don't know. I don't know how much more I could take of this. Revitalizing the American economy. Do your Thank you, Abby. Do y'all feel revitalized?
bringing Russia to the table, someone who does not want armed conflicts with the greatest powers of our time, I will defend that endlessly.
Well, living
what are you defending?
in a fantasy world of your own creation. So it's quite hard to engage
that, but then disprove it.
Let's check on how Trump is doing in terms of diplomacy. Look, with the war in the Middle East, do you think it was a defensible decision to tell the Israelis you wanted Trump Gaza to agree for Israel to invade the Gaza Strip and to continue to murder thousands of innocent children and civilians in a pointless war? Is that in America's interest? Is that in humanity's?
Well, first of all, you should know something about Trump. There's something, if you realize with Trump over the last 10 years, he is quite the social media user and uses hyperbolic language at times. But let me ask you, in the conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
Scully, thank you so much for the private jet. Can we talk about how masterfully he did not answer that question even remotely? Oh my God. Is that the jet from Qatar? Wait. If Qatar sends Trump a lion, okay? Scully, you know what to do. I'm kidding. Okay. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back and hear that non-answer again. Okay?
Innocent children and civilians for Israel to invade the Gaza Strip and to continue to murder thousands of innocent children and civilians in a pointless war. Is that in America's interest? Is that in humanity's?
Well, first of all, you should know something about Trump. There's something, if you realize with Trump over the last 10 years, he is quite the social media user and uses hyperbolic language at times. But let me
Question was, is Trump's decision to back the continued invasion of Gaza in America's best interest or in humanity's best interest? Charlie Kirk's response was, Donald Trump really loves Truth Social.
Let me ask you, in the conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
Everything's computer.
Hamas and the Israeli government are evil.
Thank you, everything's computer, for the VR goggles.
Conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
I believe both Hamas and the Israeli government are evil.
Based?
But I think also that there is no justification.
Are they equally?
There is no justification for the murder and mutilation of thousands of innocent people and children.
Well, let's
futile.
Let's zero in on.
There is no justification, Mr. Kirk, for invading hospitals, for bombing innocent populations and dragging out a war which is damaging Israel and the West's security.
You've made that point, but
it's not a point. It's a moral truth, isn't it?
Yeah. It was also a moral truth that the war started because 1,300 Jews were killed and 200 were taken hostage. And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction. Let me.
Okay. Why is he raising his voice? I don't know. Like, he's talking about Israel like it's his favorite child. I'm so lost here. Why that upset him so much? That, like, the student said both Hamas and the Israeli government are evil, which I think I'd like to think most people agree with. And then he said that there's no justification for a is he a Zionist too? Of course, Malik. There's no justification for murdering Palestinian children. I would like to think that everyone agrees with that. But for some reason, implying that children shouldn't be murdered pissed off Charlie Kirk. He's not answering. He's angrily answering. There's so many hills for them to die on. Yeah, but at least they'll be dead. Bro, look at the dude with the glasses in the back. Yeah, no, for real. Charlie gets that APAC donation. My friend described Israel as a pit bull way back in the 90s. They've always gone scorched earth. Yeah. Please tell me Kirk is single. God, I hope so.
Me finish 100 were taken hostage. And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction. Let me finish, I let you talk. Israel, at its holiest day of the calendar year besides Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, Samat Torah, the 50-year anniversary of the Six-Day War. On Shabbat, Hamas invaded Israel, deciding to go recklessly to music concerts, to homes, to kibbutzes, and taking 200 plus hostages. They knew what they were doing. In one of the most cloistered urban environments on the planet, 2 million people live in a place where it's impossible to wage war. Impossible. Where they wear civilian clothing, they violate every tenet of the Geneva Convention, and the IDF, when they do something right, they get no credit. When they do life-saving surgeries of a Gazan child, they get no credit. When they drop leaflets, they get no credit. But when they happen to bomb a place where they are operating their military from, which we now know from third-party verified sources, hundreds of Hamas military operations are in mosques, schools, and hospitals. I'm sorry, the country where they were living in relative peace on October 6th, that all of a sudden we had a war, and Hamas started the war. And I don't see people that were really upset about the 2 million Germans that were killed in World War II, civilians. A tragic truth of war is that civilians die. I don't like it, and you don't like it. And they brought it upon themselves. The only operation and entity to blame is the leadership of Hamas, not the Israeli government, for fighting this defensive war after they were invaded.
Okay. Okay. Did anyone pick up when he was saying Israel doesn't get credit for the when they do aid, and Israel doesn't get credit for the leaflets, right? He says, but when they happen, please tell me someone else heard this. But when they happen to bomb mosques, yeah, I do think that negates the leaflets. I do think so. I think by like a lot. Did you hear him say they brought it upon themselves? Yeah, yes, that's so here's the problem. It's that conservatives, like, I'm not going to just say conservatives because there are Democrats that are also like super Zionists, but mostly conservatives like Charlie Kirk just don't see Palestinians as people. They assume they're all in lockstep with Hamas and Hamas's actions, and so if some innocent children die, as long as it means that Israel never has to not take over Gaza again, then we're good to go. Like that's essentially what it is. And also, his implication is that Hamas started the war on October 7th. Hamas committed a terrorist attack on October 7th. That does not mean that does not mean you start a years-long war and genocide. Should there be targeted strikes against the people who committed the atrocities? Sure. Years have passed. So many children and innocent people, not Hamas fighters, have died. I can't. Actually, yeah, Kai, this is the perfect time to come up. Kai, if you want to just come up now, and then we can finish the video. I'm not gonna. I don't think there's a better time for you to come up.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Yeah, speaking of, that makes me very angry. So I am here to, I do have a little bit of an echo, sorry.
Oh, no, I'll mute.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll be really brief with this, but I'm here to promote an initiative that I am a part of. It's called the North Gaza Aid Initiative. It's run by my friend Noor, who lives in LA. And we have a team of people on the ground in North Gaza right now, run by my friend Ahmed. He has access to the only lasting desalination plant in the region. There used to be 30. There's only one now. You can imagine that's why it's so dire. That's why the consequences of what's happening is quite literally a G-side. And so if you click on my profile, I have a QR code where you can donate directly. It happens instantly. We hold broadcasts every Sunday. And the money is transferred immediately. He has been able to get about 10 trucks a day, which service 50 to 75 families. Some days he can't do it. It's very dangerous. He's putting his life on the line. If you guys want to DM me to learn more about Ahmed and what he's doing, he's lost a lot of family members. He really just appreciates people reaching out and showing him that we care and we know. The connection to the outside world is incredibly important too. So if you can't donate, that's a huge deal too. Feel free to DM me. My DMs are no longer suspended. I'm trying to behave myself. I'll try to keep it that way. But yeah, please click my page. If the QR code doesn't work, you can DM me for the direct link. And that's all I've got to say on that.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to bring you up last night. But
It's totally fine. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll hold more broadcasts. We're going to try to do every Sunday as well. So
okay,
I'll just
perfect.
put that in the Discord. But yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
And Mac is innocent. She didn't eat that ice cream. I saw it. It was you. I saw it. She's innocent.
she's coming
Is he
clean.
bothering you, Queen? Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Hi, if you want to just comment, I was gonna pin a comment, but I don't know what you should say. Oh, actually, do you know what, Starscream? That is perfect. Thank you. Okay. They're hitting neighborhood family homes. Yeah, no, it's one thing to consume the news about Gaza, but when you actually look at what's left, I don't know how anyone can see that and not call it a genocide. It's mind-boggling. And also how anyone can see that and then angrily say that it needs to be done, like is what Charlie Kirk is doing in this clip. Angrily saying, and when they happen to bomb a mosque, bro.
I'm no defender of the terrible pogrom that was launched against Jews on that day. But the justification for the death of innocents cannot be an infinite cycle of bloodlust. It cannot be killing tens of thousands of innocent civilians with a war with no end in sight, people who are not complicit in those atrocities. It cannot be bombing hospitals which children use. It cannot be bombing hospitals in which cancer patients are dying and starving in there. The deaths that have been inflicted, nobody knows the true toll, but somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people lie dead under the rubble. And what is left for Gaza except for to continue to suffer under Hamas? Because it turns out Netanyahu's political strategy has not worked. It has entrenched Hamas within the territories. To be a Christian, I would have thought, Mr. Kirk, would never have involved suggesting that the price for an atrocity must be an infinite cycle of bloodlust, that innocent people and the young population must be killed to avenge some kind of providential quest. How can you call yourself a Christian? Well, you just did.
I want to make sure we get our moral clarity straight before we proceed. No one likes what's happening in Gaza. No one with a heart or a soul or a mind likes when kids die. But you must understand who started the conflict so that you could end it correctly. And
There's one party right now that can stop kids from dying. One party. There's Netanyahu and the government of Israel. If they stop, then children stop dying. Period. That's it. So to continue to support Netanyahu and the Israeli government means that you don't actually care that children are dying. I get that you're saying that you're saying nobody wants children to die. But no, you want children to die because you're supporting Netanyahu. That's it. It's that simple. It's quite literally that simple.
And until Hamas brokers an unconditional surrender, of which they are unwilling to do, they could release the hostages and drop their weapons, and their lives would be spared. Instead, they are using children of Gaza as cannon fodder, financed by the Iranian mullahs and dragging the entire world into this conflict. So I don't even know what we're debating at this point, other than I believe that Israel, I believe the facts, Israel was unconditionally attacked on October 7th. They're responding in kind. And I would just ask you a very simple moral question. How should Israel have responded?
Not with the blanket carpet bombing of the city, not with bombing hospitals. Of course, some kind of military operation might have been necessary, but not murder on this scale. There is no justification for what is happening with the enormous death toll that is being produced. I really cannot see how you come here and you have the gall to lecture us on Christian morality and then sit here and justify the murder of thousands of civilians. And is it working, Mr. Kirk? Is Hamas dismantled?
I've never said that.
You just did.
He's literally okay. So what he's going to do right now is he's gonna try to make it seem like he's not justifying the murder of civilian children because he didn't use the word justify. But that's literally what he's doing. He's saying, well, who started the conflict, right? Because in this case, it would be October 7th if we ignore all the history before that. But let's put that aside. Saying who started the conflict, and so we need to end it. And this is the way we end it. That what you're doing, Charles, is you're justifying the murder of those children. Period. If you want to, I would respect you more if you owned it. I would respect you more if you owned it and you said, yes, I care more about the Israeli government feeling safe at all times and being able to continue to expand their borders uncontested than I do Palestinian children. I would at least respect you from an intellectual perspective. Obviously, you're still a garbage person, but to say that you're not justifying it when you just justified it, that's exactly what you did.
Well, no, in war, these are called casualties of a war.
We're going to need to stop bringing this
Again,
to close.
I'm not going to justify every military maneuver of a 100,000 person army. Instead, what I will do is I'll be clear that there is a good guy and there is a bad guy.
Ooh, okay. Wait. Charlie. Okay. Let me grant you that. If you want to say there is a good guy and there's a bad guy, and just you agreeing that you want the good guy to win means that that does not mean you're justifying those deaths. Then would you agree that we need to continue supporting Ukraine and stop talking about the deaths of Ukrainian and Russian soldiers because the good guy is in that conflict is Ukraine because Russia started it? Would you agree? He wouldn't agree to that. He's holding a different standard for the two conflicts. And that's ignoring the fact that he's calling Palestinian children the bad guy. But let's put that aside for that. I don't know if the student is going to bring that up, but like what he just said destroys his Ukraine Russia argument. Absolutely destroys it.
I honestly,
Isn't that the morality of a child?
Well, hold on. It's interesting you say that, because a child who knows that Israel is the good guy, Hamas is bad, has a lot more wisdom than a student like yourself at Cambridge University.
I will be glad that I will not have been somebody who has defended the genocide of the Palestinian people, and I think you will have to reckon one day that you have reckoned with...
Interesting. I want to close on this. So can you tell me what African country is currently ongoing a civil war?
Believe it or not, I know about Sudan.
Okay, good.
I'm not an idiot.
How about...
Not just a civil war, a genocide funded by the United Arab Emirates. But we don't got time to talk about that.
What Southeast Asian country has an ethnic cleansing going on right now? Good. And you have strong opinions on both sides?
Unlike you, I take an effort to be informed about foreign policy and to come to conclusions. You are a culture warrior. I believe when everything is done, Mr. Kirk, people will see you and the people you supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder, and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference,
you will have to reckon with that.
The difference
Mr. Kirk.
is when... The difference is when we get our way, we'll still have a country, and your country will be a third world hellhole. Next question.
What does that mean?
That's all we've got time for today.
Wait, what does that even mean? Is his argument that if Israel completes the genocide, the United Kingdom is going to be the third world? Did he threaten the UK? What was that argument? He had the opportunity to make an uncontested last word, and that's what he chose? Oh, bro just ended on xenophobia. That's what it was. Oh, I see what he's saying. He's saying the refugees and the migrants from Muslim countries are destroying Europe. I thank Malik. Okay, Malik had the racist translator and picked that up. I didn't pick that up, and now I get what he was saying, which is still an awful final thing to say. It has nothing to do with it. Yeah, I'll replay it.
As selling the country, everything is done, Mr. Kirk. People will see you and the people you supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder, and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference,
I think you will have to reckon with that.
Difference
Mr. Kirk.
is when. The difference is when we get our way, we'll still have a country, and your country will be a third world hellhole. Next question.
Thank you. That's all we've got time for today. Mr. Kirk has another engagement, so we're going to walk out of the chamber.
Questions with the students or no? I'm fine with it if you want. I don't care.
No, I think this is all we've got time for today.
You guys are easy.
I don't think he's happy.
Does anyone have any questions?
Who's the best?
Over there.
You guys are easy. He literally lost every debate.
Marvelous. Thank you. A very, very short question. Israel versus Hamas, good guy versus bad guy. Russia versus Ukraine. Who's the good guy and who's the bad guy?
Both.
Let's fucking go!
They're bad, one is worse.
Which way round?
Russia is worse than Ukraine.
Okay, so why haven't we pursued that?
What do you mean?
Well, it seems to me that in the whole of the current US proposition, that Ukraine is being the bad guy.
In what way? We funded Ukraine upwards to $200 billion.
Absolutely, but...
We just signed a mineral deal with Ukraine, not Russia.
Yeah, but you are expecting Ukraine to give up 20% of its territory to someone who invaded it.
Well, is Crimea part of Russia or Ukraine?
Ukraine.
That's where we don't agree.
Well, I'm afraid that's part of international treaty. That's not up for grabs.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's hold on. I mean, even Zelensky has said he's willing.
Wait, can we talk about British Gavin Newsom sitting behind the professor?
To give up Ukraine.
No. America signed the agreement that gave Ukraine Crimea.
Right.
When the Soviet Union ended.
Right. It was done. First of all, it never should have been done. It was largely ceremonial. However, it was annexed under Obama. Yes, and it was a mistake, and it should be given back to Russia as a sign of good gesture.
Okay, given back to Russia. Okay, so it is a part of Ukraine. Oh, thank you, Charlie, for recognizing that. I appreciate that. Awesome.
End of this conflict. Who's currently controlling Crimea? Where was the Russian Navy headquartered in World War II? Where was the end of World War II? And this is very
important. I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying that if we're being logical on what has happened, that you are now arguing against that flow. And I don't understand it. Because actually, why is Ukraine the bad guy?
No, I said they're bad. They're not the bad guy.
Yeah, well, you said they were both bad, but one was more bad.
Correct, yes.
So why is Ukraine bad?
Well, there's a lot wrong with Ukraine. First of all, they're not a democracy. Zelensky refuses to hold an election.
Okay. This is one of the most common Russian talking points. It is in the Ukrainian constitution that you do not hold an election if there is an active war. It's in their constitution. So when the Putin apologists come in and say that, it's a complete lie. They try to say that Zelensky's trying to be a dictator when he's following the law in the Constitution. I know that's weird for American conservatives to think about because our president doesn't like doing that. But some countries have leaders that follow the Constitution and the laws of the land.
Well, no, he can't hold an election.
Oh, wait, did Churchill hold an election during the war?
Because under his constitution...
Hold on, Lincoln held an election during the war. He can...
It's not in the Constitution that Lincoln can't hold an election during the war. I don't know why you brought that up. Why'd you bring up Lincoln? Keep Lincoln's name out of your mouth.
That's not true. He can call an election. He can call a snap election. He's full dictator of the country.
No.
Because he knows that the people of Ukraine would kick him out immediately because he's deeply unpopular. In fact, if he wanted to show a statement to the world, he would call an election and win by 80% and say, see, I'm super popular. So that's number one. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with a person being propped up as a government we're sending $200 billion to that refuses even to face his voters.
Okay, I can't agree with you factually on that at all. I mean, constitutionally, Ukraine is not able to hold an election because it's under military law at the moment, and that's just a matter of fact.
Thank you.
As a prime minister or president, he can do whatever he wants.
Zelensky should become a dictator to show the world that he's not a dictator. We did it. What an amazing argument. This is the best. Excuse me. This is one of the best debaters on the right. Zelensky should become a dictator to show the world that he's not a dictator.
We're going to just sign an executive order and change their constitution. Okay. Neither can the American president either. So hopefully there's better.
Oh, got him on birthright citizenship. Get fucked.
He could even do a ceremonial election to see where he actually stands with the people.
Why are we holding ceremonial elections in war? What are we doing? What does he think he is? Zelensky's gonna be like, all right, laughing emoji if you want me to stay, crying emoji if you want a different guy. What are we doing here, bro? They're being attacked by Russia.
Polls. Yes, and they're very negative. Firmly ahead in the again, but you would agree that a person that holds on to power without the election.
Oh, wait, and this guy cooked them too. He said those are called polls, and he's ahead in the polls, in opinion polls. Yeah.
Yes, and they're very negative. Firmly ahead in the again, but
he's
you would
firmly
agree
ahead.
That a person that holds on to power without the election of the sovereign is pretty questionable.
No, not in those circumstances.
Okay, then we disagree.
No, okay, that's fine. But give me another reason why you...
They are the most corrupt country in Europe that never even met the most remote standards of joining NATO. Do you not know where a lot of this money is going?
I don't disagree that there is a problem with corruption, but the most corrupt country in Europe, are you sure about that?
I'd have to think. I'd have to double or triple think about that, but they're very corrupt.
Okay.
I'd have to double or triple think about that. You know what that meant? I'm going to give you guys the... I think I'm starting to, after this hour or whatever, I think I'm starting to pick up on how Charlie Kirk works.
Come on, man.
Thank you, Abby. What he meant by that is, I just made that up. What he meant to say was, Ukraine is corrupt. What he said instead was, Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. And his source was... like...
I mean, so that's a little bit doubtful. It's not absolute.
Well, I mean,
there's plenty of corruption around. I mean, let's face it, we are talking about comparison with some of the states you're doing business with in the Gulf.
Oh, of course, but we're not giving them money. They're giving us money. That's the difference, right? Saudi Arabia.
Oh, so it's fine.
Well, hold on a second.
It's morally acceptable to take money from corrupt people.
Well, hold on. First of all, as far as morally acceptable, you do what's best in the benefit of your country. And so, for example...
God his ass, bro. Okay, so we're cool taking money from corrupt countries, just as long as we don't help corrupt countries during a war. Copy. Great, really great arguments. I know you must be converting a lot of people in that audience.
We were allied with Russia during the Second World War, and I'm glad we were. And I would ask you,
don't forget,
how much money is too much money to send to Ukraine? We're at 200.
Wait. You know what? I'm not even going to say it because I know the professor's thinking what I'm thinking. So I'm just going to let him. I'm going to let him channel Dan.
Right now.
I don't think you have to send any more money to Ukraine.
We agree.
I think you have to agree to support them as a free country and perhaps sell them weapons, like you're very happy to sell weapons to less free countries. And I think Europe will pick up the slack, as we ought to. And I don't disagree with some of the comments about Europe not looking after its own security. I just don't get this approach, which was supposedly to end the war quickly, which now seems to be elongating it. And in doing so, it's throwing up a smokescreen of very variable facts, if they are facts at all, about how things occurred, which actually isn't helping things. And if people can't see that Putin is stalling, I'm just.
I agree with you. I think he might be stalling.
And therefore, and I think even your president has acknowledged the fact that he thinks he might be stalling.
That's correct. So we don't have a disagreement there.
No, we don't. No,
we just have a disagreement about the efficacy of tactics, and we don't know. And I'm willing to say we could be wrong.
No. Oh well.
Of course you could be wrong in life.
Yeah. I mean, we could all be wrong. But actually bringing that war to an end.
Yo, I think he's genuinely getting nervous. I'm not a body language expert, but like, look at his face in the last answer.
No, we just have a disagreement about the efficacy of tactics, and we don't know. And I'm willing to say we could be wrong.
No. Oh well.
Of course you could be wrong in life.
Yeah. We could all be wrong. But actually bringing that war to an end consistently actually isn't going very well. And I would just suggest to you that whatever tactics have been used are perhaps not the best. And they are certainly inconsistent with what's going on in the Middle East and how America has been treating parties in the Middle East. But I've had enough of your time.
Fair. No, that's a fair contention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Can everyone please stay in their seats, please, while we walk out? Thank you.
You know what, Ginger? I agree with that, but I actually think it's even more than that. There are so many American college students that are more than qualified. Thank you so much, Rowdy. That are more than qualified to debate this man and cook him in the same way that these Brits did. The problem is the way he sets up these debates. And now I've seen it with my own eyes. He has a circle of fans, right? An arch of fans that will loudly cheer some fallacious argument he makes, that will boo something that triggers them, like pretty much any answer to the "what is a woman's" question. You know they're going to boo no matter what, and they pick and choose who they're going to bring up. It was very interesting. I actually don't. Oh no, you know what? I actually do know. Oh my god, I wish I didn't know why. I'm surprised he didn't ask for his student ID. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the story has been told before, but obviously it's been a while, so I don't know if everyone knows this. So Dean was one of the creators that was waiting in line to debate Charlie Kirk at Texas A&M, and obviously he didn't want to debate Dean for various reasons. There were thank you so much, Linda. There were other creators that were in line to debate, including Simple Black Theory. There were also creators that weren't in line to debate and were just making content. And one of those was Just Xander. It's Just Xander, I think is his name. Great guy. Now, Simple Black Theory was in line. It's Just Xander was not in line. Okay? And Kirk's team said the only two people from the Unfuck America tour they were interested in debating were those two. Only one of them was in line. The other one was not intending on debating. He was just making content. The thing that those two have in common was they were both black men. Now, I wanted to say, yeah, Adela, yeah. I wanted to say, I don't know why it was those two. But unfortunately, I think the reason is because he knows his base will discount what they're saying. And y'all, I don't know if y'all saw Simple Black Theory go up against Kirk. I think he did phenomenally. But yeah, I just remembered that was the Xander wasn't even in line, bro. That's what makes it so insane to me.
Come on, man.
Simple was also about DEI. No, seems like he chose him on purpose for it. Possibly, yeah. But it was just the fact that Xander wasn't even in line. But they were like, all right. So of the people that are here from the tour, those are the two we're interested in debating. What? Thank you, Shui, for the hat and mustache. Dean was literally heckling Kirk that he was afraid to debate him. Yeah. Why do you think they only want to talk to POC? Okay. What I was about to do is I was about to, for the moment, play the debate between Simple Black Theory and Charlie Kirk. But I know that Mac wants to go to sleep. So racist reasons. That's why he probably assumes wrongfully that they couldn't debate him. It could be that, but I actually think it's more so that he knows his base will be more likely. Link. Oh yeah. Well, I can't post the link on TikTok, but I'm just gonna share it, and then you guys can. I think it's more likely that he knows his base will discount what they say. So even if the debater does do good, like in the case, or do well in the case like simple black theory, it's less likely to break through to his base. He was clip chimping. That's why he slammed his mic after every point. Ooh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good point. And that's why, by the way, Abby, thank you so much for the mic champ. When Kirk posted his version of the Cambridge debates, it was like 40 minutes shorter. I wonder why. Where did those 40 minutes go? Is Charlie seriously planning on continuing to debate? She literally wants to go to sleep.
Don't boo, vote.
Thank you, Abby. But weird, it was only black men. Well, I think that the black women that were on the tour weren't like in that area at the time, because I know when that conversation was taking place, Erica was like far from the lines because she was talking to students. And then we found a mermaid on live, and she was also in the other direction. I don't know where Becca was, but that's I think why it wasn't black men specifically. It's just that those were the black people available for him to debate. What is clip chimping? Like finding a clip out of context, but without the context, makes you look really good or really bad. You could clip chimp in a really bad way as well. He keeps getting cooked. I don't understand why he would want to keep debating. Well, yeah, I mean, the internet forgets. The thing is, like right now, we all see, we all watch that Cambridge thing, and I would like to think that anyone that watches that would be like, okay, Charlie Kirk doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's like full of shit. But give it a month, and people just forget because he thinks he's winning. His supporters are eating it up. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. What is your YouTube? YouTube is it might be small. YouTube on okay. At Dan Malik Politics. The Twitch is Dirty Dan Politics for now. I can change it in like 2 or 3 months. They made me wait. I think it was 8 months. So you can't change your name for 8 months. I don't know why. Shout out to Samuel, Ashley Ray, and Angel. Thank you so much for being the top 3 likers in the past. How long have we? Yeah, in the past hour and 10 minutes. You guys are the 3 best people here. Kidding, but you did tap the most. So W's in the chat. We are. Damn, that thumb is hurting. That's a lot of likes. That's commitment. And I will say, so certified tappers, likes go a long way, like for the algorithm. So like whenever you see, the viewers picking up, a lot of that does have to do with the likes. So big shout outs. There were also, okay, so we did shout out the first top 3 likers, but then there was a top 3 that we had to end the live and restart, and I don't know who they were. So honor system, whoever you guys are, if you want to shout yourselves out, I will call you out. It was 11K before the restart. Damn, I'm behind you. I've always wondered if the likes actually help. I believe they do. But you know what? Maybe it's just vibes. You just missed him, Dan. Behind the flag. Who is this woman in your house? I am so confused. Oh, Slara, you are a few chapters behind. This is Mac. I was on vacation for 5 days. It's been longer than 5 days. I love when chat messes with you. Yeah, I like it too. To be fair, I like it too. If vibes are good enough to win a presidential election, they're good enough for the TikTok algo. Okay, we gotta start ending. Twitch, I love you guys. I really hope the person that gifted those 5 subs received my thank you. I know I missed it for so long, but thank you so much, Yoto. Dan, when you eligible for office elections? I'm eligible now for most of them. Just I just need 1 more year for president, right? Please shower. Yeah, to fix the hair. Mac for president 2028. Did you want to say that?
My dream is to be a kept woman. I don't want to work. I want to job.
So essentially, she agrees with Kirk that feminism was a mistake. Mood, girl saying. Oh no, Charlie got her. Oh god. Dan's frugal. Wait, who said that? Dark Lord for Ministry of Mass. Well, then Dan for president in that case. Okay, did I end the Twitch live? Twitch, I love you guys. Bye. Why is no one sympathizing with me that my puppy is MAGA? Wait, why is your puppy MAGA? And well, yeah, how do you know your puppy's MAGA? YouTube, I love you guys. Bye.